create new businesses in the mighty name of Jesus. And oh God, we always want to have our cause to glorify your name, that from this event, you will bring more people onto you, you bring more people to learn from you, you bring more people to dwell in your presence in the mighty name of Jesus. So we open the service in the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, and in the name of the Holy Ghost. Amen. All right, so this morning, as we all know, we're going to be having a couple speakers talk for our event. So I want to give us a little bit of an intro to who our speakers are, so you can feel very well reassured that you're getting experience and knowledge from very knowledgeable, very knowing men of God. So really quick, we have two speakers this morning. Our first speaker is Mr. Riggins. Mr. Riggins has been in the Air Force for about 8 years, and he's a business advisor. So best believe that whatever advice you're getting here is professional. It's advice that would, lead you to business ideas, lead you to gain more insight into the business industry. He's also an international ambassador, and he's a financial man. He's a family man, also a financial man. So for Mr. Riggins, we're going to be learning a couple of things. We're going to be learning about making business plans, setting business goals. We're going to be learning about setting financial goals. And we're also going to be learning about the stock market. We're going to be learning about investing in the stock market. I believe there's a talk about AI as well. I don't want to steal his thunder, so I'm going to just give you a little bit of a tip of what's going to be talking about. And then we also have Pastor K, who's a corporate tax consultant. So he's also going to be talking about understanding individual income tax. After making all your millions from the stock market, you need to know how to pay your taxes. So you're going to talk about tax benefits. You're going to talk about retirement accounts. So the conversation we're going to have this morning. Pastor K has been an accountant for almost 20 years, and he's also a military man in the Army for about 8 years. So we thank you both for your service, and we thank you for the knowledge you're about to impact upon us this morning. And without much further ado, I think we're going to welcome our first speaker, and Mr. Riggins. Yes. Good morning, sir.
How are you? Good. This is going to be as much interactive as I possibly can. I am grateful. This is my second time speaking here. I spoke this earlier in the year. Very similar topic, and believe it or not, my knowledge has grown since I spoke here last. So the reality is the most important thing about business is that you keep growing and that you keep learning and that you keep progressing in a way that's important. One of the things that we talked about just now is that you got to have information, you got to have exposure, and then you got to take action. So when we leave here today, you got to take action. I don't care how small it is. If you got something you're working on, you got to work on it, right? You just can't put it down. You got to work on it. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go forward. And what I'll do is, most of this is a story, okay? Military guy, veterans always got a story, okay? I want to tell you a story. Most of this is going to be my real life experience that I'm dealing with right now, as well as how it can help you and help you grow your business. And then in the end, what I'm going to do is run through it as fast as possible, so that way we can talk through any questions that you may have about business. That's what's most important. What's most important for me is that I not leave here, that I not leave this place without you getting your questions asked. Now, one more thing before I get started. If you have access and you have a question when I leave, Kenny has my number, Peter has my number, Pastor has my number, use it. There are people in this city that would pay to spend time with me, and they don't have my cell phone number, so I would not prefer not to spend time with them, but they would prefer to spend time because that's what people do, right? They just want to take up your time and learn and then there's sort of two things. There's people who charge for information, and there's people who are willing to pay for information. I am neither. I do what's called life deposits. If you have a question and you don't feel like you got it answered, ask. Pastor has my number, Kenny has my number, Peter has my number, TJ has my number. TJ's not here. I've been talking to TJ since I left, probably at least once a week, and I called him last week because I hadn't heard your voice in a while. Where have you been? Use it, because at the end of the day, I have a lot of relationships, and I've imparted them relationships on you for free. And That's my desire to help everybody grow. So we're going to skip the survey, but it will be available next time I come. That way, it's in lieu of time. So we can go ahead and pull up the slide. All right. Next slide is the survey. We're going to skip that for now, and then we're going to go on to the very next slide, and it just tells you who I am and what I'm about. So these are the milestones of my life. So I spent 8 years in the military. I got out in 2008. In 2013, I've only had 2 jobs post-military, one in higher education and one in workforce development. The entire time I was in both of those jobs, I had a part-time job working for a small business company. That happened in 2013. I sat next to a guy at a fundraiser who had a government contracting business. And I said, oh, I understand government contracting. Let me get in and let me help you. And I worked every night. When I got home from work, I would spend another 3 or 4 hours helping him build his business. And so we were able to win in 2017 when I started working on my own. We won sounds good, it's a big number. We won a $25 billion contract. It still ain't manifested yet. Okay? Don't care what people tell you. Don't believe the Instagram. Don't believe the headlines. I put it up there for a joke because when you see it, the person who won it, he's still talking about it, and none of us has made $1, right? But he is happy to say he's done that. That's not good enough, right? Because if it was, a couple slides down, you're going to see it would make a difference. But it's not. It hasn't made a difference yet, really, in my opinion. 2019, my wife and I were fortunate enough to be selected to be Amazon delivery service partners. So Amazon in the U.S. does not own any of those blue or gray vans, depending on how it hits your eye. So they do not own any of those. All of those are managed by third-party companies. We are one of those third-party companies for the next few months. We're actually about to exit that business model. But we did it for a little over 4 years. We'll be celebrating our 4-year anniversary in about 3 weeks. And then in 2021, we took that business and we really went into commercial real estate and commercial real estate development. And that's kind of where we've kind of hung our hats since then. My main goal right now is to be what we call to build, own, and manage our own real estate assets. But we're going to go a little bit farther than that. We're going to fund, build, and own our projects. And then we also that's where we are right now. We're in the build, own, and manage real estate assets. And we really want to focus on projects that are sustainable. And we're really putting a lot of our money and time into building out a platform that's going to allow for anybody in this room, anybody globally, to be able to use our fund and our relationships to build sustainable buildings. And that's where we launched Lead Fund Alliance. That is new. We're working on it right now, but it is very cutting edge. If you were to look up LEED, which stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, that is basically any building material that is sustainable for the next 100 years. Right now, what I found is that there's a lot of money, pent-up money. This group has all the money. Look at them. They're the government. Government has all the money. We, people in the middle, you're the developer, right? The end user, everybody else, wants a sustainable product. Right now, there is no one to get your money to the developer to build for this group. That is what we're building. I got an underwriter out of Dallas. My last and final meeting of that project is this week. And I'm going to fly to Dallas for a day and kind of meet with him to solidify our deal. And then I'll be able to say Lead Fund is now officially up and running and working. And so I haven't really put a lot of projections around that yet, but it's going to have a big impact. Next slide. This right here is our current structure. So when I say I've grown and expanded, you will have to understand I did not know any of this when I was here about 3 to 5 months ago. So prior to me coming 3 to 5 months ago, if you don't get your phones out. If you take no other picture, take this picture. This is the only picture I want you to take. And I'm going to walk up on can I walk up here? Some people have. Oh, okay, good. I don't want to be disrespectful. All right. This one, most importantly, is this one right here. So I want you to put this one is the real estate assets. This one right here is any IP. So all of this before I came here was all in one or two companies. We got restructured. See you shaking your head. We got restructured by Simple Structure, and what he's done is we now have IP in one place, cash in another. We have a holding company that holds all of that, and then it owns the operating company, the clients, the employees, the taxes. Now, why is that important? Remember I talked about leadfund.com, right? We will own the IP for all 50 states as it relates to lead funding. Why? Because nobody else owns it. So what we did was purchase it. And so in one place will be the IP. Everybody know what IP means? Say it again. What does that mean? Lola. Yeah, you forgot you had it on. She was like, that guy is, how did he know my name? When you hear the term intellectual property, what do you think?
Like something that someone else has thought about, like it's their thoughts, their ideas.
Okay, that's close. Bridget? No? Kenny, what are your thoughts? When you hear intellectual property, what do you think? So far, we have someone else's thoughts and ideas. What do you think?
It's an original idea that has been created by someone, and it's synonymous to like trademarks, patents as well.
Intellectual property is correct. Both answers are right. You're missing one question. Pointed inward. It's your ideas. It's your intellectual property, not someone else's. It's yours. You have something right now that's burning in your soul, and you immediately think, it's too many people, it's too crowded, I can never do that. Get it out of your head. File a trademark. That's free. That is your intellectual property. If somebody finds it and discovers it, guess what? If somebody comes out with the same idea that you have, and you have the trademark, who owns it? The people in this room. So yeah, it is somebody's, but somebody is you. So what we have done since I came here last, what we did have, and this is embarrassing to say, what we did have when I came here last, we had this. The rest of this stuff didn't exist. And then what we've done is we've hired someone to go in and create our company structure. So now the same structure that the clients that pastor uses, co-pastor uses, we have the same structure that those companies use. Why would a small business have the same structure that those companies use? Stay tuned, I'll tell you. All right, next slide. These are my top goals. I'll give you a little bit about each one of them, but these are me. I want to have a self-managed company, which means I want to do more stuff like this. I spoke today here. I spoke last week. I've been on a whirlwind tour, but I spoke last week at a church in Fayetteville, Fayetteville, Georgia. I want to be my own bank. What is a bank? I already picked on Lola. Give me one thing that a bank has. You can think of. One.
I was just taking a picture. Sorry. I wasn't really raising my hand. Just give me 1 second.
Okay. Who can think of one thing the bank has? All right, money.
Money. But a bank can also have other funding sources that are not necessarily money.
Okay.
Accountants.
Yeah. Okay, accountants, money.
They can give out loans.
They can give out loans. Bonds.
Credit.
Property, assets, credit. All of that is 100% true. And you can have all of that in your own. That is my goal. My goal is to be my own bank. Not to have billions and billions and billions of dollars, but to be able to not have to go and be denied for something. That drives me nuts. Why? Because I've seen the cheat sheet and people aren't that smart. Okay? I've seen the back end. And the people that I'm sitting and I'm asking money for are not that smart. And that part bothers me. So what I really set out to do was be my own bank. I'll get more in detail on that. Private air, I'll tell you about that too. And then my main number one goal is freedom of time, freedom of purpose, time, money, relationships. Freedom of purpose, I want to do this for free. I like making life deposits. I interact with people that are not in my tribe that charge for this, right? I'm like, you're not in my tribe. I want to make sure that everybody wins. Because I've secured myself enough revenue, assets, accountants, money to be able to freedom of purpose. I can enjoy and then I can also spend relationship and build time with who I want to spend and build time with, right? Next slide. Be my own bank. So when I originally got into this business, my wife and I have been in this Heroes Logistics business, running our Amazon business now for 4 years. About 2 years ago, we started applying for commercial credit and started getting denied. Now, our business makes $3 to $5 million a year. And everybody in this room who doesn't make $3 to $5 million a year, you inspire to make $3 to $5 million a year, and you can't get a credit, neither can I. Can't do it. Because we don't understand the rules of the game. And we don't have a good balance of cash and assets. And I had to learn that the hard way. And so for me, what really sparked me to do this was to be able to call the shots, not just for me, but to call the shots for the people also in this room. How are you? Good. Exhale. We're having a good time. Next one. Private air. Anybody see the riot in New York yesterday? There's some crazy social media riot. You saw that? I left. We were on our way to the airport doing all that activity. Didn't even know anything about it until I got home this morning. I was in the airport yesterday for 5 hours. We left for the airport at noon. We cleared security by 1. Our plane picked us up at 8. Private air is like my desire. Like I have to have it, right? Like I have to have it. That's reason number 1. I want control. Number 2, my wife is a last-minute airport hopper lady. I have clear in TSA pre-check. I can go to the airport when 45 minutes left to get on the airplane. I am carrying a baby and managing my other 2 kids, and she's running through the airport like some mad woman. I can't deal with that anymore. So for me, I have to have private air because I can then control where I go. And then 3, I want to be able to spend time, going back to my freedom of time, money, relationships, I don't want to have to spend that time. I want to be able to pick up my friend and say, hey, we're going to go here for the weekend, right? Now, what it costs to be there, I don't know. Hadn't even thought about it. What I have thought about is being my own bank. And I think if I own my own bank, I should be able to own my own plane, right? That's how I process. And this is all for my own convenience. All right, next slide. Freedom of purpose, time, money, relationships. That is all that I have right now for the rest of my life, which I'm planning to live another 50, 60 years. Jesus knows if that's going to work or not, but that's my plan. And in that time, I want to spend it with good people, doing good things and making sure that I'm having an impact. And hopefully celebrating some of the businesses that grow out of this room. And not even businesses in general, but just financial stability. That's what's most important. I'm going to call on you, but I want to make sure I get it right. It's Alma. All right, you're coming. You're next. You already know. All right, next slide. Who believes that? Lola? Craig? Why does everybody else not believe it? Say, who believes that statement? Oh, you did. Okay. So let's do another survey. If you believe that statement, stand up. If you're not already standing. If you do not believe that statement, okay, everybody else sit down. If you do not believe that statement, let's talk about it. Why do you not believe that?
Yeah, you definitely need resources
Okay.
in order to win in whatever goals you have, and oftentimes we don't have access to those resources.
Ooh, fair. We're gonna hit. I'm gonna hit each person's point, and then we're gonna go to the next one. So I just want you to keep notes. So I got Alma, I got Bridget. What's your name? Emmanuel and Shane. Okay, so we're gonna each time they bring up something, then we're gonna talk about it. You're 100% right. You do need resources and time. This happened in this very room. I have people tell me all the time. This happened last week. I have a young lady on my team, just bought her firecracker. She's here from New York. She's Trinidad native. Amazing. She does architecture. Her husband does general contracting, which means he builds stuff. She designs it. He builds stuff. They've been doing it for 15 years. They go into a local real estate association meeting, and the guy tells them they don't have enough experience or they don't have enough money or credit to build anything. They're not qualified. You need more experience. I told her that's absolutely false. You need a partner. You need a relationship. There's something called a KP. A KP is what's called a key person or key personnel. You can utilize all of my resources to build anything that you want as long as I'm a percentage owner of your business. You essentially become an extension of me, and my resources become your resources the minute we enter joint venture. The minute we decide we're going to partner, you have a $3 to $5 million business. Can't nobody say anything to you. I can pull up the emails and show you. I'm applying for a line of credit at one of my banks. This is a true story. I'm not here to blow smoke. Put $150,000 because I need to use it to get all these projects through to completion. Halfway through, she says, "Do you have the tax returns for the real estate company?" No. What do you mean no? Because if you look at the operating statement, it says Heroes Logistics is the financier for all real estate transactions related to Harmonic Brass, period. Her response to me, okay, no problem, we're good. You don't need it. You just need a good partner. You find the right partner who has a key person or somebody who has access to key persons. So for every one of me, for every 1 to 3 to 5 million companies, there's probably 50 of us. But you may get an opportunity that requires you have somebody at 25 million or 50 million. And then we just got to go into the room and figure out who those people are and can we trust them. All right, Bridget, you ready?
I was gonna say something similar. Like,
Okay.
yeah, it depends on like who you know and like what resources you have.
Same answer. You have me, you have Pastor, you have Kenny, you have their numbers. If you have something that's burning desire and it comes down, you're like, this lady told me she's about to give me this house for free. Call me, okay? So we're gonna figure out how to make that deal work. Does the deals come less? Yes, but they come at the right time and they're still equally as profitable. Emmanuel, what do you think we're missing?
I would say that we're missing, like it's like you said, just knowing the right people, and some people don't have as many resources or access to those resources as others. So I think it's not so much that they don't have everything they need to win, but it's like an imbalance of those things.
Imbalance is a good word. Jeez, that's a good word. We're going to get into more context about imbalance in just a second, but you're going to find that if you look at imbalance in ways, that you process and balance can really internalize kind of where you are and whether you feel like you have information, whether you feel like this statement is true. A lot of that is purely based off of an imbalance in the system, but it doesn't mean anything. I'll tell you why. Last one.
Yeah, I was about to say what I mentioned, but another thing I want to add to it is probably you may not have the right skills that you need to achieve your goals, like, and that still goes down to the people. You connect with people who has the skill that is required for you to be able to achieve your goals. So I would just say maybe skills or knowledge that you need to have to reach your goal.
You have every relationship you need. You may not have the skill, and that's facts, but you have the relationship. But can you trust them? Right. So one of the prayers that I stole from someone else, I have to say that I stole it. But what she said was, when she has an opportunity, she prays about it. And the prayer that she uses, it's been showing up in my since I started using it. It's been showing up. You ever ask God for something and wish you would have not asked for it? Because when it comes, you're like, oh, wait, this is not what I was thinking it was going to be. I thought it was really nice when she said it. I started reusing it, and now it's starting to show up in ways in my life that I don't necessarily expect. And what it is she said, if an opportunity is for her, I'm going to paraphrase because it's not mine. She said, if it's an opportunity that is for me, then box me in ways that I cannot get out. And if an opportunity is not for me, then give me as many opportunities to exit as possible. Don't write that down if you're not ready for tomorrow. Because I've gotten the most random phone calls, the most random relationships, and I've been boxed in ways, and I was like, I wasn't ready for this. Random conversation. Wait till you start seeing this. Random conversation. Last Saturday, I was in Atlanta. I decided to go get coffee. Sitting next to me is another Nigerian gentleman and his friend talking about business and finance. His name was Jason. We just started talking. Boxed me in. Got a random call last week from a man. Hey, I'm just calling to talk to you about finance. Don't pray that. But you're right. The who will show up. The skill is not necessarily yours. My number one skill is vision. Everything else, two things I do well. I parent and I have vision. Everything else I'm winging it. Building the plane and flying it at the same time. My job now that I'm starting to graduate is to find different who's that can help me build out my business. And we talked about that earlier. Just a matter of, and then how you become indispensable as a person is by introducing this person to this person. And in the end, you will be indispensable. You will become because our assumption is that you know this person, right? They sat next to one another. Surely they know each other, right? But surely she works in IT, she works in finance, she works in retail, right? The two of you are expecting to have something because you're going to a place every day, but she's encountering customers that could give you $1 and give you $2 every day. So you got to have the skill, yes, but it's also equally about relationships. And so as long as you got that figured out, and as long as you realize, okay, who can help me do this, as long as I focus on what I can do and build those other relationships around me, you can win. Now, I don't want you to take you 10 years, 15 years to do it. I want you to do it tomorrow, and that's my goal. My goal for you is for you to do it tomorrow and for you not to have to wait 10 or 15 years to get here. That's my job. My job is to cut off your learning curve and get you there faster. All right, next slide. And we talked about this before, right? Now, I'm surrounded by African brothers and sisters. Is everybody here primarily Nigerian? No. Give me one. Ghanaian? Nigerian? You said no too? Ghanaian as well. Okay. Everybody here is from the continent of Africa, right? Nigeria. So, do you think in a million years that that top list came here and amassed that wealth alone? No, they didn't. They used partnerships. They used relationships. I haven't seen the data, but I can tell you that Patel's probably own 40, 50% of the hotel market in the U.S. Started in the 80s. It started in the 80s. It's this slide where I have to apologize to you. It's because what has happened in that period is that they built the system to help other people move, progress in ways that we have not. And that's why I apologize to you. And that's why I'm an international ambassador. You heard that, Emma? I'm an international ambassador. Why? Because my goal is to drive up these numbers as high as possible. Because when you live in my world and you are a rural country, standard black American in the U.S., you're told and mentally you believe that this number is the top of the food chain, right? The reality is that's not true. It's just simply not true. The people who are winning are the people who have built systems for one another to help the other person cross the bridge in ways that the rest of us are not. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you. This number right here is probably closer to here, because it's not counting the money underneath the mattress, because they're a cash business, right? When someone comes to my house to fix my plumbing, I'm not paying him. He's not putting that money in the bank. He's going to put it underneath the mattress, right? That's not even being counted. That's why I know that number is not true. The number one T-Mobile in Charlotte is East Side T-Mobile. Why? Because that's where my Latino brothers and sisters live in Charlotte, and they go in and they pay cash. My brother-in-law, who lives in Memphis, everybody sees the work truck during the week. Guy drives up in the work truck. You don't see the weekend truck. They have to take the money to the bank to get it counted in order for them to pay for the truck that they just purchased. That number is nowhere near real. Now, our number is also not real. Why? None of this is really real. This number is also not real, but it all deals with your psyche. The reason why this number is not real is because my uncle who gets disability, who cuts yards on the side, he's not reporting that other money he reports to the side to the taxes, right? He ain't reporting it. He's just taking his cash and paying his rent, buying his house. So that too is not real. What also is incorrect about this slide is that there are people who live in rural America who's happy living there. They're not trying to be a part of main society, right? My aunt, my uncle, they're not trying to move into the city. They're fine. They got their retirement. The only problem is the city is now moving to them. And her country house now has a $300,000 house sitting across the street from it. And she was like, I don't know what happened. Let me explain to you what happened. That's what I do. So that's the reality of kind of where we are. But I tell you all that because I do have to apologize and then also give a challenge to everybody in this room is to build more relationships and help other people cross that bridge. And that's what I'm here to cut down on that 15-year learning curve. And you're going to hear that throughout this presentation and the next. Next slide. Yes. Go back. Let's go back. Before we go into this one, let's answer this question. What is the difference between the average American? Okay. So this right here is the average of all of American here, probably average American born, not necessarily just the white Americans of the U.S. But there's a lot of people who are in these other categories. Here's what's interesting about this number right here. That's why I said all of this is just lies. It's all lies. It's not lies. I shouldn't say that. The data is there, but the data serves everybody a specific way. The reality here is when you look at white Americans in general, let's just use that term because that's what's on the chart. As you can see, there's a lot of others that are masquerading in that space that aren't nowhere near white American than you and I are, right? My two bankers are both born in Greece. And if they didn't have the same two last names, and they tell everybody that they're both from Greece, that's probably his nephew, right? But when he goes into, but based off of the census, what boxes does he check? So we don't really know the answers to that. That's why I said most of this is not necessarily true. I show it to you because I know that there's room for us to improve because our numbers should be better. Alma shouldn't feel like she doesn't have the resources. She should already know me because the system should be built for her to act. First person you meet when you land is you need to go meet with Nick. Why? Because he's going to connect you with everybody. He's going to connect you to you. I got a guy. I got a guy for everything. I'm going to connect you to all the guys and all the women that you need to meet. And if I give them to you, don't sell past the close. Because if I've given you their phone number or I've told you to call them, that means that they're real. And I'm not here to sell you on anything other than people who are part of my tribe. My tribe depends on me like I depend on my tribe, and we make sure that everybody eats. There's people that are not in my tribe, I never refer you to them. You don't have to worry about that. It's the sad part, they don't realize they don't realize it yet, but why has he never sent me any customers? There's a reason. Next slide. Who's first generation anything in this room? First generation immigrant, first generation college graduate, first generation military. Meaning your parents graduated from college, your parents immigrated before you did, your parents got here and bought a house. First generation homeowner. First generational financial peace or some level of financial peace. For us, myself included, as a first gen, you're kind of already here, right? So you got your glass. If we talk about whether the glass is half empty or half full, see if that plays. But for us, let's see if it plays. It might not play. It's probably a download. That glass breaks in my for the first generation, we all feel like our glass is not half empty or half full. We're afraid somebody's going to take it. I'm going to get up in the morning and my glass is going to be gone, right? That's the world I live in. And I originally read that a decade ago, and it came from Russell Simmons. And he said that no matter how many millions he has, he always wakes up in the morning feeling like somebody's going to take it. That's ingrained. That's because when you're first gen, you don't have the experience of seeing somebody struggle making payroll. So the minute you start not making payroll or having to struggle to make payroll, you wonder if it starts to talk in ways that should be muffled, but it's too loud. So what I have right now is 3 kids at home. I have no idea what it feels like to be first generation. My son just went with us to New York. That was his trip before he went back to school. I'm talking about private air. I don't know what I would do with my baby. He's going to be an absolute mess. But the trick is for us to be able to hear that noise and muffle it on our own. Build relationships. Get in the room with other people who have succeeded. And being in the room with other people, and there's really no such thing as success and failure. As you'll learn, there's only information, exposure, and action. The person that you perceive as succeeding just took action before you did. Nothing more, nothing less. That's the reality of kind of where we are in today's society. Minus the Instagram and the people who look like everything's always great. That group is a whole nother story. God, they get on my nerves. Okay, I can't say that. Can I say that? Okay, keep going. Next slide. All right, so the problem with AI is execution. I can just go into ChatGPT and it's going to give me everything that I need. This is what AI produced for starting a business. None of which I'm going to say 30% of what I'm going to talk about in the next 5 minutes is going to come from a slide like this. I am not here to talk to you about something you can Google. You can Google it. I got to stay home in my bed. Trust me, I lay down at 1. I'm giving you hard facts, giving you information. I'm giving you exposure, and I'm giving you how to take action. Now, I heard there was somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 people invited, something like that. The people in the room need to be in the room. People not in the room don't need to be in the room. That is your first lesson on exposure, showing up. Second lesson on exposure is taking action. Being open-minded, taking action. Now, this is all pulled from really old, outdated material, because you got to think about it. AI is only generating material that's already been produced. Creation and vision, what I do for a living, is about a connection to a greater source and power, and it's just me happy to be able to be walking in my vision. So what does that mean for me as we go into this next phase of this presentation? I have the luxury of looking at land from a satellite view, Google Earth, and I get the luxury of, I use 2 sources, Google Earth, Google Maps. I use Google Earth to see the topography, a little bit of what is it, how is this land sloped, and what could it be used for. I use Google Maps to see what's around that property. And then I use little blocks to think what I can put there. Will it scale? Maybe. Is a product buildable? Maybe. But the reality is I have a very unique vision to be able to look at stuff from the satellites out of the world, right? So it's out of this hold. It's out of what we call as the world. It's sitting out in space. It's coming down. It's showing me a plot of land, and I get the luxury of building around that plot of land. And that is where I make my money. So the problem with AI for most people will be execution. You're going to use about 30% of this. The rest of it is hogwash. Can't use it. It has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with you winning. Nothing with you having information, exposure, taking action. All right, next slide. This is what is called a business model canvas. Part of my survey didn't happen, but who in here are business owners? I got my first generation number. Who in here are business owners? Currently? How long you been in business? 2 years. Okay. Who else? Kenny, how long you been in business? 5 years. What is your desired income range? What is your desired income range for your business? Ooh, she smiled.
150 net per month.
150,000 net per month. All right, we're gonna partner.
Is that 150,000 per month?
150,000 net per month.
Net per month. I'm gonna be realistic. 10,000 to $12,000 per month. Yeah.
I'm a force multiplier. When I walk into a restaurant, I hear the people say, "Where did all these people come from?" I walked in and I ordered coffee. So I'm gonna walk in and order coffee. We're gonna get to that 150. We're gonna get to that 10. That's what it's all about. That's the reality. But it starts here. You can Google a business model canvas. You can also reach out to co-pastor Kenny. I'll send you my version. This is real life. This is me working on Lead Fund. Value proposition. Top accomplishment will be creating a fund alliance for lead divisions that focus on developments, redesign, and retrofits. A commitment to spearheading the development of a fund for leadership and energy and environmental design with a diversified investor group, 45% consortium, 30% private equity, 15% international, and 10% individual. We've changed consortium to institutional funders, and we've changed individual investors to solopreneur. Why? Because I want my retirees, where are we going? Our big, hairy, audacious goal, in 100 years from now, we want to be the largest solopreneur retirement fund in the world. Why? Because my friend who makes $150,000 net, she wants to retire in Nigeria. But she needs to be able to afford security, a maid, people to cook. She needs to be able to afford all that. We want to create that retirement for her, and at first of every month, she gets $10,000. She can't even get out of the bed. That will raise the level of income globally just by us focusing on solopreneurs, people who don't want to retire here but haven't figured out how to transition from what they have here to where they want to retire in the future, right? How do you do it? Lead funding would, so you go from left, you start in the middle, you go left, then you go right. How do you do it? Lead fund will be our firm's specialty. The payoff is increasing the spend options for sustainable buildings. These are our partners. LHI is the underwriter. They're the ones who are writing. When I say fund, guess what? When I say partnerships, relationships, when you hear me talk, the assumption there is that we're going to have this big pot of money, billions and billions and billions of dollars. Remember that 25 billion that I showed you from the very beginning? All hogwash. L&H is our underwriter, LHI. LHI is our underwriter. We facilitate that relationship. The money is actually theirs. It's not ours. We just reap the benefits of making the facilitation. So if we can help L&H reach $100 million, and we live off of 10, and we don't have any real staff, sounds like a Ponzi scheme. It's not. It's real. It's real business. So last thing on this list is customer relationships and how do you interact. Applying for loans, creating funding, introduction opportunities, building relationships. That's it. The relationships I need to get to this goal and make this business real is sitting in this room. You just don't know it yet. Because if I can get you hooked on Pepsi today, when you get to your real job and you start thinking about your future and you start thinking about this next role, for those of us that are somewhat younger and for those of us that are kind of seasoned, when you start thinking about that next thing, if I can get you hooked on Pepsi now, then what are you more likely to drink when you get 60? Pepsi. People in this room to help me build this, sitting in this room right now. All right, next slide. So the first one is the business model canvas. That is your ideas. Now, fundamentals of business. Structure matters. Budget matters. Sales matter. Finance matter. And most importantly, pivot when necessary. Pivot doesn't mean you're not going to go back to it. Pivot doesn't mean you're out. Pivot just means you're making a slight detour. But if you start using that prayer, don't be mad when you can't pivot. Because everybody keeps showing up saying with solutions. Okay, now, these are your fundamentals of business. The reason why I did structure first, because I learned since I came here that I should have been structured right. The wrong. One lawsuit, prior to my restructuring, one lawsuit probably would have taken us out. Didn't know it. That's why I start with structure. What's inside your structure? Your IP. Now, for the newcomers, what is IP? AMA. Anybody telling what is IP? Intellectual property. Okay. I want to make sure we were okay. Oh, you were here last time. Yeah, I remember. All right, let's go through these four real quick, then we can ask the questions on this. I'm ready. Ready for the next one. Next slide. All right, business structure. This is simple structure. This is his Calendly. If you are not currently structured and you have a business, where did Kenny go? Kenny left. Please share this with Kenny. He needs to get this. This is his actual Calendly. He sets these up for you to protect your assets. What industry are you in, my 150,000, my new friend? Wellness? Okay, perfect. There's some IP in there somewhere. Now, it's important that the IP and the cash are in the holding company. And the holding company needs to own the operating company, which has the clients, the employees, and the taxes. And it's going to have the real estate, and it's going to have all of that stuff. The reason why you do that is to maximize your profit, protect your assets, preserve wealth, minimize liabilities. Why? Because I want to be in my own bank. I don't want to have to pay Friendly Sam. Friendly Sam is it's like a used car salesman. He just keeps showing up, taking stuff from me, telling me that it's really shiny, but he knows it's only worth a quarter of its value, but he keeps trying to get me to buy more. I'm referring to our government. So this gentleman helps you structure your company in a way to minimize that risk. So if you don't have a business yet, it may not apply to you. If you have a business right now, then you're probably too late. Schedule that. He's on vacation next 2 weeks, but definitely get on his calendar for the week following. And just tell him that you said it. And then what co-pastor and I are working on is for you all to meet him. So my goal is for him. He'll be here in September. We're going to try to have another event. If I can, where did Kenny go? If Kenny can help. Kenny and Peter can help me figure that out. All right, next slide. So that's business basic number 1, structure. Business basic number 2 is budget. Man, this is lessons I had to learn the hard way. Business budget. What the budget? We're going to go through an example. The budget to the back is what I've been doing personally on my own, helping small businesses grow. First one is, what does it cost for you to run your personal life every day, including travel? We're about to shift our business model and pivot away from our Amazon business. My wife says, I just want to travel. I'm so worried that we're not going to be able to travel. So what I did, I put it in a budget. Started working through our budget this week. In order for us to continue to travel, we need to save $2,500 a month. And only in the travel budget column, because we like to travel. So personal businesses to the left, personal or business doesn't really matter. You add all your expenses to the left. You add all your personal expenses. You add 20% or $5,000, whichever is greater. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you have both business, add in everything, including something called owner's discretionary spending. What does that mean? That means that I've added in an extra $2,500 just because. Why? Because I own a fleet of Amazon vans. I lease a fleet of Amazon vans that I have to put gas in every month. So every time I go to the pump to put in gas in my truck, guess who pays for it? Heroes Logistics. That's the owner discretionary spending. I can do that all day. Now, you divide that number by 10, and whatever you come up with is what you need to make on a monthly basis. $150,000 is a great goal after we've hit these numbers. And then whatever answer you have here is what you need to make every month. Now, taking action. How many of your intellectual capital, your services, your wellness do you have to sell in order to get to this bottom line? You figure that out, you can run your business all day. All day. You can have freedom of time, money, purpose, relationships. Why? Because you figured out what you need to sell. Everybody's chasing them. Everybody here on social media? Anybody here not on social media at all? We see it. You see people flashing money. Everybody want to be millionaires. Everybody want to be billionaires. Hogwash. Absolute hogwash. Because do you really need that billion? That's the question. You want it, but and I was one of those people. When I said that I wanted private air, before I changed it to private air, I had all these millions in my head that I wanted to do. But why? I just want private air. I just don't want to have to fight my wife to get her to the airport an hour early. And if I can cut down on that, I swear I will add 5 years to my life. Just by not having to arm wrestle with my family to get them out of the door. We live in Mint Hill. The airport is 35 minutes. I I need to be there a little bit earlier than 45 minutes in order to maintain my level of keep my stress down. Now let's go to the example. That's basic number 2. We're going to go to continuation of this, and I'm almost done. Go to the next one. All right, here's what it looks like for my life. This is real life. Except I've changed these numbers for the sake of tomorrow, not where we are today. Right now, today, our insurance and health care bill is about $30,000 a month between us and 65 employees. It's crazy. But to your left, we got our mortgage. This is my real mortgage, $2,400. My light bill and my water combined is about $200. Our groceries about $500. What I left out of here was restaurants because my family DoorDash is a lot. And it's close to about $1,000 a month. It's kind of sick. Travel. The travel's $1,500. I see we got other DoorDashers in the room. That's going to get you. There's fees. You know how much you pay for fees? I don't DoorDash, and I don't pay anybody to bring me my groceries. But my family does. So I guess by definition, I am involved. Fuel, insurance. This is our monthly total, about $1,500, and our annual total, about $62,000. Now, we want to make $300,000. There's nothing wrong with that. You can want what you want. There's nothing wrong with you wanting that, as long as it's legal and as long as you're not selling your soul to get it. Nothing wrong with that. But what do I really need? I need $62,000. That's what I really need. Business, taxes, about $2,000 a month. I need health insurance, is about $5,000 a month. This is just for us and me and the five. And I have veterans benefits, so I do have health care covered for free. So this should have said lease. That's $2,500. Payroll is about $5,000. A conference. I'm a self-proclaimed conference junkie. I go to conferences. I went to a Vacation Rental Management Association conference. I was probably one of 5 black people in the room. I'm like, where'd that dude come from? My wife had a conference in Vegas. What am I going to do all day? I don't really like Vegas. I look up the conference schedule, and they had a guest visit for $100, and I went. And I walked around in there. No one notices you. Conferences are just like, no one knows who you are unless they know you. So you can walk and blend in there, and no one's going to ever know you were there. So I probably spend about $1,000 a month just saving money. This is going in an account that I may or may not use at the end of the year. I can get that money back. And then travel is $1,500, and then owner's discretionary spending is about $2,500. We add all that up, that's about $21,500 a month. Annually, it's about $234,000. We combine those two together. We add 20% or $5K. In this case, 20% is more. That total comes out to roughly $355,200. Now, there's one number that's been on both sides that I have not talked about, which is this number. Why? So, here's the reason why. We have $355,200. We divide it by 10. We need $35,000 a month in order for us to live and achieve all the things that we want to do and achieve. Now, the reason why we divide it by 10, and here's the trick to business. No one else gets this. This is my intellectual property. We divide it by 10, and I've added 20% because you've already mathematically calculated slow times. January, February, slow, depending on your business. Or it's going to hit you one of 3 places. This is real. One of 3 places you're going to hit. January, February is going to be slow. You're going to get slow. June, July is going to be slow. Or you're going to get hit November, December is going to be slow. One of those cycles is going to be slow months. Forget about it. Just throw it out. Don't even use the math. Only use the 10 months. So now you know for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, you can survive the whole year because you got your numbers spread out for 10 months, right? Now, we're going to blow up Co-Pastor's business, and we got a vision right now. Our vision is beyond, it's otherworldly. Yes, ma'am. Just a random number. Just for savings. You just add 20% just miscellaneous. Yep. Emergency. I planned to go on this trip. I didn't buy my ticket fast enough, and my cost of my ticket went up. My hotel cost. I decided to stay in the Waldorf Astoria this time instead of the Marriott. Why? Because I looked at my other budget items and everything. These are all individual accounts. This can be all individual businesses. This can be all individual banks. It all depends on how you want to do it. But that's how you mathematically put it all together into one place. Now, once you do this, you're set. How you do the rest of your life, the rest of your time, you have freedom of time, money, purpose, and you're not only chasing the sale. Hello, how you guys doing? All right, next slide. This is business basic number 2. None of this matters. I don't care what they tell you. This is my intellectual property. This is me coaching probably hundreds and hundreds of people at this point. This is me being their advisor. Business basic number 2, sales matter. You solve for X. This is your only job is to solve for X. When Amma and I was talking about having not enough resources, there's an assumption that if I sell a widget and she sells a widget, that we're in competition. Doesn't exist. Competition doesn't exist. Not real. Coke does not care how much Pepsi you drink. Pepsi does not care how much Coke you drink. They care that you're connected to them and they're your resource. Because there's too many billions and billions and billions of people in the world, and there's still countries that hadn't had a Coke yet. There's too many billions and billions of people in the world for them to be worried about 1 or 2 sales. They're worried about you being hooked on them from childhood. The rest will take care of itself. You solve for X. X is however many trinkets you have to have in order to get to your goal of 35,000. You control that. Information, exposure, and action. You control your customer. I don't. Even if you and I are in competition. And you have to challenge yourself. Remember, you have to challenge the first gen. First gen tells me there's competition. Fear will kick in. Fear has control. I'm going to have that conversation in Dallas. What if he says, no, Nick? Now you guys are competitors. No. He has his $100 million fund. I have my $100 million fund. We're not competitors. There's no such thing as competition. It doesn't exist. The people in the world who tell you that there's competition, they've not yet graduated to realize that there's not. And in their world, there is still competition. There's Nike in here. I see Pumas, Steve Madden's. I don't know what I'm wearing. Cole Hawks. They don't care. In fact, they would probably prefer that I have multiple types of shoes. Doesn't exist. It's all in the mind. Next slide. Business basic number 2. Business basic number 3. I cannot control all finance. I can control real estate finance. If you want to buy a real estate project, you want to invest in a real estate right now, this is my resource. I'm giving you my plug. I have other ones. Remember I told you I don't always refer everybody. Remember, not everybody gets a referral. They just don't know it yet. When they get a hint, it's too late. But this is my resource. All right, next slide. I think we're almost over. These are the next 3 are tips. We're going to be done. Kenny, if it's okay with you, I'll take a quick break and I'll just run right into the next one. All right? Scaling tip number 1, measure yourself based off your past, not based off of the ideal. What does that mean? You start creating unnecessary anxiety when you measure yourself against tomorrow in the place you want to be. Measure yourself against where you were. Last week I spoke in Atlanta. I spoke in Fayetteville, Arkansas, Fayetteville, Georgia. There was a young man in the room, and he's talking about graduating from college and being this business person and getting this job. I was like, calm down. Measure yourself from coming from Fayetteville, Georgia to Chicago and learning the train system. If you measure yourself from that person, You have graduated. There's no end in sight to you winning. You only start to lose when you start to compare. And our first gens, we will do it in a minute. Because Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn tell us everybody winning. And it happens in my wife. My wife and I had this conversation last week. We signed up, we're hiring a lady at the end of the month to write contracts, government contracts for us. And the lady who originally asked her for the number wouldn't give us the number. I just happened to be talking to another friend, and she said, oh, I have her number. I'll send it to you. We get on the phone with her, and my wife gets off the phone, and she says, well, which package do you think so-and-so paid for? The lady who wouldn't give us the number. And I said to her, I don't know. Me and so-and-so are not in the same hemisphere. And I stopped talking and walked out the room. We're not, there's no competition. Because I'm not measuring myself against anybody else other than me being barefoot and building dirt roads on another dirt road. I grew up thinking it was going to bring a highway through my country, my dirt road my entire life. It still ain't happening yet. That's who I'm measuring myself against. I'm not measuring myself against anybody in the room or tomorrow or next year. I'm only measuring myself for what I have done so far in my lifetime. Next slide. The problem with entrepreneurs, same person, Dan Sullivan. The problem with entrepreneurs is not the goal, it's the timeline. The timeline got messed up in the download. I want something tomorrow. We want it fast, hard, now. It's not real. Timeline is, don't set yourself up for unrealistic timelines. You're going to make twice as less than you would like to make. It's going to take you twice as long. The trick is to give yourself goals that are higher than what you originally established. Then you'll hit your goal faster. What do I mean? This is real conversation. Don't text and drive. I was texting and driving. A friend of mine says this morning, she says, my goal for the rest of the year is 110. I said, really? She said, yes, because that's what I made last year and I'm trying to qualify for a house. I said, great. Make it 220. She writes back to me, she says, laugh out loud, why would I double it? Math is simple. Business is all numbers. If you target 110, you're going to get to 95, you're going to say, I didn't hit my goal, woe is me. If you target 220 and you get to 180, you only needed 110, you set your own rules. Entrepreneurship is great. Just set your own rule. I set my own rule. This is what I'm going to do to win. This is it. The problem with entrepreneurs is not the goal, it's the timeline. She needs it in 6 or 8 months, and she's kind of set her goal a little bit higher. Just set your goal a little bit higher. It's going to take you twice as much. You're going to make twice as less. That's why you can make it as high or as low as you want. You're in control. Nobody else controls it. Next slide. This is my contact. This is actually this is a copy of my dot card. Just everything about me is in there except lead fund, but you guys got that already. Everything in there if you need. If you need me, use it. There's people in this city that would love to have it. They don't have it, and there's a reason why they don't have it. And even when they ask me for it, I give them a wrong number, leave off a digit. Co-pastor and I exchanged information earlier. I text him immediately. Why? Because that's what I do. If it's somebody else, you know what? I have you lose me at use my schedule it with my admin. We're not in the same hemisphere. Not that I'm not happy that you have an admin, but that's a stiff arm. And I had that happen to me, and then I wrap up. This gentleman, he said, I reached out on LinkedIn. We was talking back and forth. He said, yeah, great. Reach out to my admin. 6 months later, I'm sitting there. My wife is she's a C-suite executive for a company in California. She says, hey, do you know this guy? He's an Army guy. You should know him. I said, no, I don't think I know him. She said, let me show you his picture. He's reaching out. He just congratulated me. He's trying to have lunch. She said, I think he's trying to network to get into our company. She showed me his picture. Set him off. Tell him to reach out to your admin. I do business, and I play hard, and I play real. But at the end of the day, we're all just people. We can't put ourselves on a platform higher than we really need to be. Nothing wrong with having an admin, right? but I am here for genuine relationships. That's why I give you all my information directly. If you need it, use it. Right? I am a household face, not a household name. I don't need to know people. But if I know you, I'm a force multiplier. As soon as I learn about this wellness business, I'm going to try to overwhelm her. Why? That's what I do. That's what I want to do. I want to make sure that everybody in this room gets opportunity to win, because that's the only way I win, by making life deposits. And as long as I continue to make life deposits, I check my first gen through life deposits. Because as long as I keep making life deposits, I know I can go home and there's going to be food in the refrigerator. And I know, standing in the middle of this church, I know that God will provide. And I know for me, as long as I make a life deposit into her business, somebody else is going to make a life deposit into my business. And then when I get to the ancestral plane, I'm investing in everybody's business, I'm going to come back and haunt you. Because you got information, you got exposure, and now you got to take action. So with Kenny's permission, take a 2 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute, 5 minute break.
Perfect. Let's just give Mr. Reagans a. Yeah, that's been very valuable information. I think one of the things we can walk away with is obviously information. I think something I caught off was the fact that it's really valuable to create relationships with the right people, because those relationships are then going to propel you with the right experience, the right knowledge, the right resources you need to go out there and execute your business idea. So for now, there's been a lot more people that have coming. I want us to take like 5-10 minutes to like a little break, get to know who is sitting next to you. If you know them, go to the other side. Look at your face you've never seen before. Introduce yourself. Tell them what you do. Tell them your name, where you're from, and let's just take like the next 5 minutes. Just get to know each other. Let's try to connect. If you have LinkedIn, I don't know if you guys do LinkedIn. Share LinkedIn. So let's go ahead and take that 5-10 minutes, and then we can come back, and Mr. Riggins will take us on the next section, which is about investing. I think it's stocks investing, mutual funds, IRAs. I might be wrong, but investing. So 5-10 minutes. Let's do a quick get to know each other, and we'll be back soon. Thank you very much. faces. Also, we have some coffee, I believe, at the back. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, I don't drink coffee, but if you want coffee, if you want to try out some coffee, this is in the back, and I believe there's also snacks as well. So we're going to move on into the next section. Yeah, so we're going to move on to the next section real quick with Mr. Riggins. Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right, did everybody meet somebody that they didn't already know? Okay, good. Thank you all. Again, you already know who I am, so I can skip that portion of the presentation. This one is about financial basics. First off, I am not a financial advisor. Here's the reason why I'm probably not a financial advisor. One of my friends has the highest commercial real estate license in the country. He can sell, purchase, coordinate deals for anything. I was going down that road one day, and I was like, man, let me get his opinion on something. I said, hey, tell me about your license. You think I should get it? He said, no. He said, because you have money. He said, when you have money, the license is a restrictor. Because he's now can't say certain things because he knows the rules. I don't know the rules, so I can say whatever I want to say. That's what you're about to learn right now. I am not a financial advisor. I encourage you to seek financial advice. You guys are lucky to have a co-pastor here that has a lot of knowledge, but that is not my expertise. I'm going to give you ways to make money long term, and I'm going to give you information that's going to expose you, and then you got to take action. I'm not coming here 30 years from now in gray hair, and you don't have exponential growth and wealth. I'm not going to do that. Shame on you. But we're going to give you the information. You do what you want to do with it. All right, financial basics. Back to our question. What is our problem? AI will get a lot of people in trouble at execution. Why? Because you're going to chat GPT yourself into a hole. People keep telling me, oh, I put it in the GPT. This is what it put out. This is what it put out. Can you execute on that? That's debatable. This is what ChatGPT put out for write me an outline on doing an investment presentation. Types of investments, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, exchange trade. Risk of investing. This is not helping a first generation investor get anywhere. It's not helping me. Sorry, it's too many big words. Am I going to go back and then have this conversation with my mom about this stuff? She's like, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're saying. What language are you speaking? This is what ChatGPT puts out. So what I'm going to try to do right now is try to give you real life, how investment works and how it has worked for me and my family. Next slide. Setting goals is good, though. Fundamentals of investing. Know your goal. Where are you going? Know your numbers. Do you have a budget? Manage your debt. Eliminate it. Diversify your asset pool and embrace the tortoise. That's my own. Now, really quickly, Kenny just been in here from where? Where did you move from? So Kenny's been here. He moved here from Nigeria. He's been here a year. Everybody else in here, I'm assuming, anybody less than a year that came straight from Nigeria to here? How long? 11 months. Okay, we have something here that, from what I've been told, I've not been to Nigeria, from what I've been told, Nigeria does not have, and that's the ability to borrow or credit or unlimited amount of money. Okay. Now, you missed the structure conversation, but we need you to get a structure conversation. For those of you all that's only been here 11 months, do not. If you have a business, start a business. If you don't have a business, start a business. Create commercial credit. That EIN number is your Social Security number all day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You use your personal Social Security number, or whatever identifier you have that's personally tied to you as your vehicle for your own personal use. And that personal use should remain having credit less than 30%. Ever. Never have any credit above 30%. This is a game. Credit is a game. We're going to talk about managing debt. It's all a game. It's nothing more than a game. Once you know the rules to the game, you can win. You're playing a game you don't know the rules to and you've never been exposed to. So the first thing you do is get commercial credit. Create an EIN number, create a business. It's going to cost you $225 a year or whatever. Get your structure, get your EIN, start creating commercial credit today. There's places that you can put money into, $100, and then they're going to report that you put in $100 and that you paid $100, and you're just going to start that cycle for a couple of years until you get your business settled. Do not, my kids, I slap their hands if they use a Social Security number for credit. Don't do it. It's an EIN number. That is the first, remember I gave you that highlight about the 70%, the Indian Americans being at the very top of the food chain? That's the very first thing they learn. You don't do anything under your own credit. You do everything commercial credit. Because that becomes your Social Security number. And that's the only Social Security number you can dissolve and start over if you want to. But once you have your personal credit, you're hook, line, and sinker, and you're tied to that forever. And then always remember to keep your stuff under 30%. And always by the 10th of the month. This is so sad. This is stuff that I learned in the last 6 to 8 months. Let me give you an example. I could have, say I got a credit card that's got a $5,000 balance. On the 7th of the month, if my $5,000 balance, it's good to see you again. If I have a $5,000 balance on the 31st of the month, I have until the 5th to get that below 30% or zero. Because on the 7th through the 10th is when it's going to report. It's all a game. So therefore, most of us that are paying minimum payments, we're paying minimum payments to a credit card. The reality is they only care about your balance. If you lower your balance below 30% and keep it there below 30% before the 7th or the 10th of every month, it'll never be reported. That's why they tell you to pay the credit card off every month. As long as you keep it below 30%, doesn't matter. But you got to do that before this. I play this game all the time. If I'm going to apply for, this is so sad. If I'm going to apply for new credit, I look at all my credit cards mid-month, and by the 7th of that month, it's down to almost zero. Because they're going to pull it. And then I'm going to apply for it on the 15th, and they're going to pull it, and they're going to say, oh, he got an 800 credit score. I got an 800 credit score in 2 weeks. I know the game. Till you know how the game is played, till you know the rules, you don't even know the game. You're not even in the game. So, know your goal. Next slide. This was not going to play either. This was a picture. But this is not going to pay. Before you embark on this journey, what are you trying to accomplish? Financial basic number 1, destination question. About 2 years ago, I got a call from one of my wife's friends. She said, hey, I got a Porsche experience. I want you to join me. Absolutely. We went to Lowe's Motor Speedway, and we drove every one of their next model race cars. Next model car. So the Cayenne, the small one, we drove every last one of them. And what they taught us is something that I will never forget. All of us driving this car would think this is our destination. For him to make sure that this car does not flip or go off the road, he is looking here. Wherever his eyes go, the steering wheel will follow. That is your destination. Your destination is never in front of you. It's right around the corner. But not your goal, not your measuring stick. Remember, from the previous presentation, don't measure yourself about here. You measure yourself about what's behind you because you made it that far. But where you keep your eyes on the goal. He's keeping his eyes right here. I kept that trick now. If I'm racing on 485 and you say, that looked like that guy, don't worry. I'm going to go around you, but I see my destination and I'm not going to hit you, I promise. All right, next one. Know your destination. That's the first one. You've seen this before. This is nothing new. Your personal finance and your business finance are the exact same equation. This is not depicted upon you working every day and trading dollars for hours. Nothing wrong with that. I do it all the time. I love work. I'm never retiring. I'll work forever. But it is important for you to know your freedom number. What is it going to take for me to be free? And can I get that number passively? What does passively mean? I already talked to Lowe's. Lowe's like, this dude look at me one more time. Smack him. Pronounce it for me. Yes. Nina. Nina, when you hear passive income, what do you think? Everybody here heard it. Has anybody heard passive income before?
Yes.
All right. Number of hands that's aware of passive income. Stand up. Stand up. Right? Get some energy in your legs. If you're familiar with the term passive income, stand up. Okay. If you're unfamiliar with the term passive income, pay attention. And it's shame on us for us not to educate them. Okay? We got to make sure we bridge that gap. Now, when you think of passive, okay, sit down. And then hold your mic. When you think of passive income, what do you think?
Probably like a side hustle or something that works for you besides your main job.
Something that works for you besides your main job. Now, how are you going to define it?
Well, my understanding of passive income is income that's kind of automated, so you're making money while you're not physically working.
Yes. You want to add something different?
The money I make while I'm sleeping.
Passive income is the money you make while you're sleeping. Passive income is the money you make when you're not thinking about it. You want to work, your only job for retirement is to work, to have passive income. Don't listen to the headlines, okay? Your job is to come up with your freedom number and work to have passive investments make that money for you. We're going to diversify it. You're going to have some stocks, you're going to have some bonds, but your income is your income. Why? As I told you all before, my goal 100 years from now is for our company to be the largest solopreneur retirement fund in the world. Why? Because my Bangladesh friend who lives next door to me, who is also a dentist, I want him to retire in Bangladesh comfortably. How do I ensure he retires in Bangladesh comfortably? I make sure that he's made solid investments that he's going to be able to get $5,000 to $10,000 a month for the rest of his life, even when he's unable to care for himself. Why? Because $5,000 to $10,000 a month in Bangladesh, a lot of money. That's a lot of money. He can afford to have people care for him. He can afford security. He can afford food. He can afford everything he needs, all from an investment he made 10 or 15 years earlier. That is the goal. That is the game. We're too flat right now. The world is just too flat. Too many connections. So, same basic math. You got to know your freedom number, and you got to work to make this freedom number passive. All right, next slide. Yes.
Just a quick question. So, let's say someone has an active 401k right now.
Yes.
And when I'm Cameroonian, I'm hoping to retire and go to Cameroon, probably before I even retire. Are you by what you just said, are you insinuating that while I'm in Cameroon, I may not be able to benefit from my 401k investments?
No, your 401k is great.
Okay.
This is past your 401k. So you should be, you're gonna learn this in a debt-free zone. We're gonna get into next. But if you don't have any debt, you should be maximizing your 401k for whatever is required for you at the end of the year, which is about 19%. Once you get to that 19%, guess what? It's gonna stop. So if you're debt-free, you have no debt, you have all the savings that you need, you've maxed out your 401k, guess what? By mid-year, by August, You cannot invest anymore for that year. That other additional money that you normally used to not get, do not spend it. Put it in another account. That's going to be your alternative investment account. It's going to be in real estate. It's going to be in a real estate fund. It's going to be in a when you hear the word real estate trust, when you hear the word syndication, that's nothing more than a bunch of people put all their money together to get a return. Everybody's getting returns right now, even banks. I'll get into that more. All right, personal. This is my personal. Remember that from earlier? Same thing. Same rules apply. Nothing has changed. This is my rent, my utilities, my groceries, utilities. If you're new to Charlotte, you haven't been here, and you have Duke Energy, it's up to you on how you do it, how I do it. The reason why I have $200 $150 light bill is because we're on an equal payment plan. If you're not on an equal payment plan, call Duke Energy and ask them what an equal payment plan is. Equal payment plan means they balance your usage out for the whole year. You pay the same amount every month for 12 months. Didn't learn about that until I got here. So my first year, I got a $300 gas bill, $300 light bill. What in the world? Because we turned the heat up. Then the summer, we get another one. But then the other months when it's cooler, it's low. And I was like, nope, not going to do that again. We got on an equal payment plan. We pay $150, and water is like $40. That's why I know my light bill is $200. Travel, $1,500 a month. I want to put that in an account. I'm not going to travel every month. I'm going to travel 10 times a year. But I'm going to put $1,500 in the account to soften that blow. Fuel, insurance, monthly total about $5,200, annual total about $62,000. Do I want to make $150,000? Absolutely. What do I need? I need $62,000. I want what I want. Don't judge me. But I only need this. I take that same number. I add 20% of 5K, whichever is higher. In this case, 20% is higher. I add that to the number. Why? That's additional fluff. The number most important, we've already talked about this number before, is the 10. Why? If I divide it by 10, I've already accounted for the slow months. It's going to get slow. I might get sick. I might just get sick of these people at work. I'm going to take a couple months off. Y'all working my nerves. I'm going to take a couple months off. Okay? I'm going to take them off. And then I still have I know for sure I've paid my bills, and I know for sure I've got my money set up in a way to keep me and my family safe. This right here on the side is a budget, and those budgeting tools. It all ranges in there from doing an individual budget to debt freedom. This is where we got our original start. Dave Ramsey is how we originally got our start. And at the end of the day, that was probably godsend in ways that I was not prepared for, but allowed us to manage our debt and then build our life based off of that, around that thought process. Next slide. This is Financial Peace University. Do you all have that here at the church? All right, co-pastor and pastor, we can teach this here. They give it out for churches all day, and then it's a program that people will come in and do the classes. We did ours at a church close to our house, and then people come in and they do classes. They're doing studies right now, how many people have gotten their lives changed through whether investing in the stock market or doing this. And there's a podcast right now that only talks about having Dave Ramsey and following his debt-free model, and how many people have become millions and billionaires and everyday millionaires just from not having any debt, not giving it away. So we're going to we're going to stay on the co-pastor and the pastor and hopefully be able to teach this class here. It's a great start. Great start. Be debt-free. That's number one. I got them switched up. Number 3, diversify. You keep going because I got them. 2 was already earlier. Invest the 20% in non-traditional. It didn't look like this when I did it. This is the down low. So y'all don't be looking at me like I'm off. All right, number 1. This is all about diversification. So, what does that mean? I have a 401k. I've achieved my goal. How are you today, sir? Good. I'm humbled. I'm here. I've been invited back, so I did something right. So basically, the turnkey approach as an alternative you can do. This is basically real estate diversification. Do not invest in real estate by itself. Real estate by itself is great, but it can be kind of boring. But the reality is, if you can build your system right, then your deals will come to you that are great. And the deals that don't come to you, they're not yours. Those people, not everybody's in your tribe. They're just not in your tribe. It's okay. So don't chase that stuff, because you have access to real people who do this all day. So if you think you have a deal, or somebody, don't let someone sell you on the glossy flyer, you call me. You say, hey, this lady is about to lose her home. It's all about exposure. It's information, exposure, and action. If you get an opportunity and you're not quite sure, call me. I probably won't have the answer, but I'll call somebody else. But what I do is I make sure I surround myself with people who know more than I do. And so the reality is, those are the kind of opportunities that come to you when you're least expecting it. Consider investing in a syndication. That is taking the surplus and putting it into money that's going to give you a return. That return is going to be monthly or quarterly, depending on the type of investment. The syndication is nothing more than how people pool money together to invest in one thing. A short-term rental, such as an Airbnb, can also be a turnkey operation. All right, next slide. I'm going to fix that slide. Contact information. This one was actually pretty easy. Just to summarize, eliminate your debt. Eliminate it. From the very beginning, if you're here and you've only been here a few months, don't use your personal Social Security number. Create commercial credit. Use that as your vehicle to communicate who you are to the world. I personally, on paper, have not had a real job in 5 years. I haven't. Because I work for my company. So everything that I get ready to apply for is based off of that EIN number, and I have a credit card that I managed. I never spend over 30%, and when I do, I pay it down by the 7. This is the game we're playing. But I know the rules, and I didn't always know the rules. I've been denied credit. People have told me stuff that's not simply just not true. Key personnel is what's important. The challenge amongst our community as a whole is we don't have enough key people. And because we don't have enough key people that know, then we're often denied stuff that other people are giving access to. They really haven't done anything to deserve. They just have a good relationship. So again, this is my number. This is my actual dot card. It has everything in it. LinkedIn, if you're on LinkedIn, please reach out on LinkedIn. So I've given you my personal cell. I've given you LinkedIn. There are no excuses for you not to win. I owe you that, okay? And so the last slide, bring up my picture, and then I'll wrap up. So my connection, as I stated last time I was here, my connection to my box in. Remember box in? I can't get out. Remember that prayer? So I consider myself to be an international ambassador, primarily as a connection, as it relates, as the more and more, and this all started here. This is why I'm bringing up this. This is why I've grown so much since we met last, because it all started here. So when I came here to speak last, I gave Peter my number, and I told Peter, if you ever need it, call me. Because at the end of the day, I don't want someone coming in here selling you something. I want to give you good, solid, real people who can give out real information. Don't want you to get anything that's hogwash. Since then, this gentleman right here, this is my structure person that I was telling you all about. That smiling face is mine. This guy right here, his name is Green Dim. Mr. Green is a Nigerian gentleman. He's on his way to Nigeria as of, he was going on Monday, now he pushed it back to 2020. He is also the president of a Nigerian bank in Nigeria. He's a chairman. I met him this is on the New Jersey, South New Jersey. So I met him a month and a half ago. He and I sit on my afternoon, I'll be spending my afternoon at Johnson C. Smith University doing the HBCU cookout. I'll be volunteering, so don't look at me all crazy when you say, why is this? The guy was just teaching me is now serving food. That's what I do, right? I am not an HBCU grad, but that's neither here nor there. The business department at Johnson C. Smith put together a team of business owners in the city. The person who runs that department is a Nigerian gentleman who came here from Delaware. He may be a member of this church, he may not be. Mr. Dim sat 2 seats down from me, and he explained to the group that he was a former vice president at BNY Mellon Bank, and that he did risk and compliance. And I was chopping at the bit. I was like, I gotta meet this guy. I gotta meet this guy. And so now I'm being boxed in. Remember? Relationship. Information. Exposure. Action. I said, meeting gets over. I said, what time are you going to the airport? I want to have coffee. He said, I'm not really sure. I haven't checked my itinerary yet. I said, okay. I go back. I sit down. I'm keeping my eye on him because if he exits, I'm following him. So about 30 minutes later, meeting's over. I go back to him. I said, hey, what time are you going to? I said, what time do you need to go to the airport? He said, are you going to where? I said, I am now. Let's go. We talked on the way to the airport. He shared stuff with me. He had only been to the Charlotte airport twice. In 1980, when he came to the U.S., and when he flew in the night before for the meeting, and he's now on his way back out to go back to New York. And he asked me, he said, what do you need? I said, I need you to do risk compliance and the stress test on my vision and my ideas to make sure my stuff is right. He said, okay, if that's all you need, I'll just tell me. So I started reaching out to get a schedule. He said, I thought this meeting was Zoom. I said, no, sir, I'm going to come to New York to see you. I will be there I thought I'll be there. I said, no, I'm serious. I want to be in the room. My friend Marley, this is the people who are doing the structuring. That's Marley to the left. Marley said, you're going, I'm going. I don't have to say anything. I just want to be in the room. So we rode the train down. We met Mr. Dim. We spent about an hour, 2 hours just picking his brain. We just took a lot of notes. Because if I'm going to build a fund, I got to make sure I did some risk and compliance. You just got to realize exposure. What his company did, and you got to realize the ability to, what we have right now in this collective room and what we have collectively as our relationships is to build opportunities based off of people's experience that they never really had. Mr. Dim shared a story with me about power. He said, let me show you a story about power. And this is not a political story. This is a story about power. He said, he said, I see our former president on television. He's talking about President Trump. He said, I see him. He said, I know that guy. That guy is real. He said, because we represented him in his Taj Mahal deal. Now, for those of y'all who don't know and just moved to the U.S., if you move to the U.S. in the next 2 years, you've seen a lot of President Trump and a lot of bad, good, no matter where you are on a political scale, doesn't really matter. There's an opinion. But in the 80s and 90s, the books and stuff he was producing, he was like one of the foremost experts on real estate, right? Like you had his books, you read his books, you digested it all. And what you realize in that saying, one of his favorite quotes was, "Potential is absolutely nothing until the person does something to it." That's just how people quoted him back in the day. Now, this same friend that I'm now eating lunch with is also sat in the room in a time warp at a time when he was at the top of his game. And he said, let me tell you a story about power, and then I'll stop. He said, the Taj Mahal deal was going south. Trump is responsible for that deal going south. They're going to bring him in the room, and they're going to chastise him, and they're going to get him to fix it. He comes in the room, and they say, okay, we're here to talk about this deal. It's about 5 or 6 other banks around the room. And they say to him, hey, we're here to talk about this deal. You need to get this right. And he says, I can fix it for you all. You're going to give me $5 million a year for the next 5 years for me to fix it. And they chuckled, and they laughed at him because they're like, we're not here for that conversation. We're here to reprimand you, right? He said, I don't have my commercial credit. He said, I don't have a personal guarantee on this project. This project is funded by itself. He took off the keys to the casino, to the hotel, put them on the table, got up, walked out. The bankers look around the room at each other and realize none of them knew how to run a hotel. And none of them knew what to do next in order to get it to actually make money. So they begged and pleaded and brought him back in, and they paid him $4.5 million to restructure a deal that he had destroyed. He said, young man, this is a lesson on power. If you're asking me to help you structure your stuff before you get to structuring, he said, I can do that all day. That meeting had happened on Saturday. And what I told him was he's leaving to go to do his chairman work in Nigeria sometime in the next few weeks. And I sent him a text this morning, and I told him, as I left yesterday, we were in Chinatown in New York, and I saw the Bank of China USA. I said, and I told him this, I said, one day it would be great for us to have your bank, the Bank of Nigeria USA, right? That's where we are right now. We're not at a place, I know a lot of people have businesses, but this is the room that you're connected to. It's a time warp. It's sort of a stretch in places that most people wouldn't realize, but that's where we are, and the opportunity that we have sits in this room. It's not mine, it's not the pastors, it's not the co-pastors. It's the young people in this room. At the end of the day, the young people in this room, you guys are responsible for creating that for us, and I'm just here to help you in any way that I can. You have my number, use it. I'm a household face, not a household name. A lot of people would love to have my information, and they don't, and there's a reason why. But I am grateful. If you want some hot dogs and chips, HBCU cookout will be kicking off at 3. I'm going now to help prep food. So with that being said, I will turn the mic back over. I hope you guys got something out of it.
Thank you very much, sir. I want to. I wanted us to give us the opportunity to ask some questions. I know there's been a lot of information shared. If you have any questions, I want to give us a couple minutes to raise your hands. It's going to be mics going to pass around. If you have any questions for Mr. Riggins, please, now is the time for you want to ask the question.
Thank you. Thank you for such a phenomenal presentation on finance. So my question was a bit technical. The budget that you did with 7,555, I think, is that the amount that you have to make every month? A year. Okay, so to get the freedom, So to get the freedom money, you need to create a passive income that makes 7,000.
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
So the reason why is because when you get sick of them at work, your peace is going to go down when you know you have another source of income, right? That's what it's all about. It's all about that peace. People who inherit properties, who inherit money, they don't have anything more than peace. They know they can sell grandma's house if they need to. They know that they have inherited $2,000 or $200,000. They know. Okay, my daughter's flight was supposed to leave at land at 1:33. I see a conversation between her and my wife, so sorry about that. But yeah, basically, yes, that number that you have, that freedom number that we count, that's passive. You want to work to have that passive. Is it going to happen over tonight? No. But a lot of us in here are IT professionals, and you're getting a bonus every year. I'm a little jealous. I've been in a job, never had a bonus. You better not buy a purse. You got enough purses. You have enough gadgets. Go invest in something that's going to give you a solid return and that you feel comfortable purchasing, whether it be into a syndication. Their syndication is buying large commercial assets, and that's at any level. It could be this shopping center next door. It could be in those apartments. Lord knows we have enough apartments. That's what a syndication is, people pooling their money together. You can also invest in there. There's some rules behind it based off of whether you're accredited or non-accredited. Don't be intimidated by that. Just take the information and then figure out how you overcome the obstacle.
For some context for myself,
Yes.
I've been working a job at Ally Financial for about a year, earning about over $3,000 a month. I don't have any student loan debt, but I am looking into buying a home over the next like 2 months or so. So I was wondering if you, well, one, do you think it's a good idea for me to start building a business earning commercial credit, even though I don't know which business I would start? And two, do you have any suggestions for myself personally? If you
Yeah. So first of all, congratulations on being able to buy a house. That's huge. I know several people who don't have that luxury. Number two, don't make sure your first house is not a stretch house. It's an investment because it's going to multiply exponentially over the next 5 or 10 years. So you want to make sure that you purchase something that you can afford that's going to be, equal or at least less than your rent. And so if you're making $3,000 a month, I would not spend more than 30 or 40, 50% in there, even if you buy a condo or you buy something a little bit smaller. Well, why? Because 5 years from now, you can either keep it or rent it. Or you may say, I'm happy being here. What do I have? But the reality is, once you buying a house the first time, you learn that process, and then you just wash, rinse, repeat. And then in terms of your commercial credit, absolutely. The reason why I would do that now more than anything else is because the more stuff you're buying on your personal credit will show up when you get ready to go through a home. Another thing I would do, and this is what they don't tell you, go in and apply for your mortgage today. See, applying and being denied for credit is like getting the cheat sheet to the test, right? See, we get to a place, being first generation, where somebody's probably going to deny us. Go in and get denied. Go ahead and apply for your mortgage today. And they're going to say, oh, you're lacking this, and this. Okay. 6 months from now, I got this, and this. Eventually, you're going to figure it out. But if you wait and then you get disappointed when you get denied, then it hurts. Go ahead and eliminate that right now. It's a credit pool, right? It's going to credit pool. You know you're not really planning to use it, right? Use that as an experiment. Take action. Use it to go ahead and apply. Let them deny you, or they're probably going to approve you, which is really going to frighten you. But if they approve you, don't do anything. Just sit on it for 6 months. If they approve you, what do you approve for? I'm approved for $300,000. Okay, I want a house for half that. I can't find a house for Charlotte for less than $300,000. That is 100% not true. Matter of fact, there's a parishioner sitting in this congregation right now that would sell you their house because they're ready to retire and downsize for $175. They're going to sell it to me for $500, but they like you. They're going to sell it to you for $175. People trade real estate assets all day. It's so sad. This is just games that we don't know the rules to. I would probably say half of the buildings in Concord, those older buildings, they've been trading those buildings for years. One friend trading it to another. It's just sad. There's a building I wanted to purchase. It's $1 million. The guy owns it free and clear. He's in Texas, and he's like, I get calls all the time. I'm not interested in selling. It is what it is. But yeah, go through that process. Get denied. If you get approved, don't buy anything. But then you know the game. Try to go into places and not, especially if you're new, if you've only been here a year, try to go into places and not try to get anything done. Go in to learn the game. Then once you know the game, you know the rules. Once you know the rules, you can win. Can't win a game you don't know the rules to. Any other questions?
You talked about the turnkey approach and how it's an alternative to fixing and flipping.
Yes.
I wanted to know if you could just clarify a little bit more about what
Yes,
that means.
absolutely. So there's 100 ways you can get into real estate. One of the ways you can do is there's a company out of California that sells you turnkey real estate assets. It basically, as long as you have 20K and say a minimum credit score of say 700, You can buy a real estate asset right now and not put any money into it other than putting down your down payment. That company is called Narada Real Estate Investments, Narada, Narada. Turnkey. You don't do anything other than, because you got to think the game we're playing is retirement. I want to retire free. You're going to take some risk in the early stages, or you're going to be debt free. You got two options. Or you're going to do a combination of both. But if you're like, I want to get an investment while I can, then that's a great option. Another turnkey is to invest in the syndication. For my IT professionals that I'm jealous that I never had a bonus. Invest some of that money now into being a limited partner in a real estate deal. That'll pay you back your total investment. Plus, if done correctly, at the end of the 5-year cycle, you should get all of your investment back, and you just keep reinvesting. Why take it out if you got it to spend? Yes, ma'am.
Hi again. So I know you mentioned Dave Ramsey.
Yes.
And his financial advice is a bit extreme. You know,
It
when
is.
it talks about not having debt, but there's a lot of talk about investing and buying a home. How do you feel about people like me who have student loan debt? Do you think it makes sense to focus on investing and buying a home rather than just paying down your debt?
So student loans are tricky. If you got a lot of student loan debt,
What's a lot to you?
yeah. If you got a lot of student loan debt, what's your monthly payment, if you don't mind me asking?
I haven't paid. It's been on pause, but when I was paying, it was like 300 something
Yeah.
a month.
Yeah. Focus on paying on your, if you have student loan debt, figure out a balance. Try, anytime you have any bill that's there, I think Dave Ramsey is very extreme, but eat the meat, spit out the bones.
Right.
What applies to me? For $300 in my budget, I would put, I'm extreme. My wife thinks I'm off. I want to put $1,500 towards my student loan debt. So your numbers don't change. Your numbers stay the same. You just got to increase where it comes from. So I would probably keep it the same. I would just raise it by 15, raise it enough to double or triple your student loan payment. And then start to look at ways to make that money.
Right.
It still should be a combination of, for all, Dave Ramsey can't, they just built an ungodly commercial convention center. They paid for that thing in cash. Like, they spent 2 decades saving for that. Like, that's, I get it, but that's also a place that most of us don't have the luxury of spending 2 decades trying to build something. So in order for you to kind of give yourself some of that, you do have to get your student loans out of the arrears, but just add it into the budget. How do I make 3 payments? So in your case, how do I pay $900 a month on student loans and afford a mortgage? Just got to figure out the math. It's all about numbers.
Thank you.
So, Seth, I have 4 questions, but I'll try to make it quick. So the first one, you talked about the holding company,
Yes.
right? Can you put different businesses in different industries under the same holding company?
Yes. That's exactly what Simple Structure does. That's what we were talking about, me and co-pastor.
Okay.
He will set all that up for you. All we did was send him how he was currently structured, and I should have put before and after, but I'll do that for my next presentation. I put in how we were structured, and this is what he gave me back, and he designed. They do everything for you.
Okay, thank you. Second question: paying off a house you already own versus investing in another one as some sort of investment property. What's your take on that?
It depends on how long you've been there, how many years you have left. For me, if you can pay it off in 5 years, then what is it called? Delayed gratification is amazing. It's a force multiplier for delayed gratification. If you can delay your desire to want to invest by paying off your current mortgage, if you can get it done in less than 5 years, do it. If you cannot get it done in less than 5 years, you can get it done in 7 years, same as the student loans. It's a maybe. If it's 10 years or more, I'd probably look at other investment opportunities.
Okay. And
10 years or more is you paying 3 or 4 different mortgages. And I give you an example. My cousin who works at a plant 2 hours my family's from. He said, if I stay here, I'll be working in this plant for 40 years. He said, I kind of want to do something else. So I said, well, what is your budget? What do you have from bills? He said, oh, all I have is my house. How much is your house payment? Oh, it's $700. He built a house. He built a house, and his mortgage is $700. If you don't pay off that mortgage by the end of 3 years, we're going to have problems. Because once you pay it off, then you can go do what you want to do, because that's the only bill you have. And it's only $700 or $800. It was like $825. And he said to me, and these is quotation marks, he said, you mean I don't have to pay it for 30 years? Because nobody had ever exposed him to that, because that's what my family does. We get a mortgage and we pay it every month for the next 30 years. No. You can pay it as fast or as little as you can't pay it fast or little, they'll come get it. You can pay as fast as you want, and nobody's going to say anything to you.
Thank you. In terms of franchising and maybe also purchasing a land, what's your take on franchising?
Oh, so I like franchises. TJ's not here. TJ and I have talked a lot about franchising. I think it's good. I think if you're going to earn a business and learn from somebody else, do it. That's even easier because you can get the strategy. Once you get in, those guys are exiting, and then they're exiting. Guess who they're selling their franchises to? People who already know the game, not anybody that's new. Franchise is a great way to get started, and I really highly encourage it. You can get a franchise right now from $10,000 to $50,000 to $300,000. Just all depends on your scope and your appetite.
Okay. And last question: how do you find people who are interested in syndication?
It's all about. It takes a long time. I've had relationships in a lot of places, as you can imagine. I built my own group. So I educate people on it, and I've started educating my group, and that's how I built my first relationships in that area. But right now, the young lady that I'm working with, she and I have just been friends for years. And she started her capital company, and she didn't know that I was in that same space, and that's kind of how she and I started working together. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so my question is about for business owners, right? So for someone who owns a business, like I've been running a business for 5 years right now, it's a partnership with someone. So what I noticed in the first year, we were making so much money, but our expense was also as large as the money we were making as well. And we took a hit during COVID, and we weren't making so much. So I told my partner, I said, hey, let's cut out the office and just go remote and mobile only, like having a website for it. So what are some strategic ways you can use to, reduce your expense, especially as a business owner?
Figure out ways for you to create your own revenue stream within your business. So if you can find or create your own thread, for example, right? Or buy into thread that you're going to get a discount on, then you're going to automatically build savings into that process. Now that you're in, if you can, and then just keep cutting corners. Always reevaluate every vendor, and then play them against each other. Because if you don't, your vendor's just going to give you a price, and they're going to be happy you're paying it. What I recently did with my glass guy is that there were other glass guys, and I went to them. I had my general manager go to them and figure out what their price is for glass. He said, "Oh man, their price is $500. I was paying my guy $1,100." Went back to him. Said, "Okay, you gotta give me your best price. What's the best you can do on this?" I didn't get him to $5. I got him to $650, $7, but I saved $300 or $400. And so that's a trade-off. You want to stay in business with me? I need the best price. And then don't spend the spoils. Keep the spoils into the business. That way you'll have your money in the end. Good thing about business is, you can spoil money all day and still use it productively. All right, one more question.
Okay, so my question is very brief. So I'm not here to opt to one here over here, and I heard some terminologies such as the 401k.
Yeah.
So I've heard that before, but I'm pretty ignorant about it, which is something. And then again, I think I was listening, I was just scrolling on social media and I heard someone say it's better to rent a place than buy it and all those kind of things, over here. Like, so I just really want like just perfect explanation on both. Thank you.
So, I personally, this is not advice. I personally, I have a Charles Schwab account, my personal account. I would highly encourage you to get a personal account and don't think, where do you work now? Perfect. If you're a student and you don't have a 401k, you don't have anybody that can deduct money from your account, get you a mutual fund account and just put whatever you can put into that mutual fund account. Don't think too much about doing a 401k at the very moment. The 401k is really good when it comes as a part of your employer package. So once you get your first job, then there will be your employer, and the employer will pay into it, and you will pay a portion. In the meantime, you can go to charlesschwab.com and open you an account. Now, here's a luxury that I did. I set my account up. This is so wild. I set my account up based off of Bloomberg's or somebody's best investments for 2020. Guess what happened? COVID. All those companies underperformed, and their stock price went down, and I bought them all. What happened after COVID? The stock prices started going back up. I was like, oh, wow, now I kind of outperformed the stock market. And I have a variety of stocks between U.S.-based stocks and international stocks. In your case as a student, get a mutual fund account, put $100 or $200 in there every month. Don't try to overdo it, but you just want to create your savings and you want to get a return for your savings. And there's some little small penny stocks that are out there that you can kind of look at. There's also future trading. I'm not going to speak blasphemy here in front of the church, but research it. You are at a place right now where when I say there's money being traded on a daily basis, then probably more of us have made in a year. There's money being traded at more places. I don't encourage it because there is some element that I don't like about it, but the reality is learn as much as you can. Same thing, information. What is this 401? Best thing you can do is go to podcasts and pull it up. Podcasts are like my lessons from other people's failures. Learn as much as you can from podcasts, from other people's exposure, and then that's your information, that's your exposure, and then you take action. But take it in small. Spend $100 here or there. Buy mutual funds. You have them in two or three forms, but you can do a small investment, not a high risk return, and then it's going to grow every month. And then don't spend too much time in those other areas. But learn it. Learn it's futures trading for all the college students. Look at futures trading. So, yes, sir.
The experience is that when I got to US, the first point of call was South Carolina. Rented a place, stayed there for 1 year, relocated to Charlotte, North Carolina. The realtor encouraged me to buy. And of course, coming from Africa, I told him I didn't have enough money. I didn't have that kind of money to buy. He said, no, as long as you are able to rent a place, you are able to buy. I told her, I don't understand. She said, okay, let us take a risk. Let us buy. You won't lose anything. So we bought a place. The money we were spending, paying for rent, we're putting it into the mortgage. That's about 18 years ago. Today, the house is fully paid, less than the balance we need. We bought it for about $150,000 that time. The balance we have on it now is less than $5,000. And that is after taking money, cash out about 2 or so times. So what I do is I encourage people, the money you are spending on rent, as long as you know you want to stay long where you are, buy a place. It's a matter of time. If you are there for 5 years, you would have gained some money. It's a matter of time. What I encourage is you are supposed to pay $1,000 every month. Make a little addition, maybe $50, $100, at least higher than you are supposed to pay. You just wake up one day, like I am speaking now, we bought the house $150. Sometime last year, somebody sent a text. I've been receiving messages, I want to buy your house. Somebody sent a text and said, we are ready to buy it for $280,000 cash. I just replied, the place is not for sale. By the last valuation of either the county or so, the tax I am supposed to pay, I'm supposed to pay a tax on a house of $350,000. The house I bought for $150,000. They said it's now worth. So you won't lose anything. So I stand to be corrected, sir. Thank you.
Please let's give a really big thank you very much, sir, for your time and all your experience and all the knowledge you've impacted. I think there's a lot of people who are going home enlightened about certain things. Is anybody inspired to start a business? You haven't started a business. Who wants to get like the EIN? I think that was a key for me. Syndication. Some people are starting syndications. People are starting real estate companies. God will give us the grace in Jesus' name. Yeah, but definitely something I learned was definitely EIN. I think that was a key for me. Moving credit from your personal Social Security to that of a business. Key. I want to give us a couple more minutes to take another break. More people have come in, and I want us to just, oh, Emmeline, hey. So more people have come in, let's get the opportunity to know each other. Mr. Temi is coming as well. So if you talk to somebody that was on this side before, now talk to somebody in the back. If you're in the back, talk to somebody in the front, or come to the front, you know. So let's interact, let's connect, let's give out LinkedIn's, Instagrams, all that good information. And then after that, we'll have someone, Mr. K, Pastor K, is going to come and talk to us about individual income taxes, and he will also answer any questions we have about that. So let's take 5-10 minutes, talk, connect. There's water in the back, there's juice in the back, there's coffee in the back if you want to get those as well. All right. So see you guys in 5-10 minutes. saying, like, fill up the middle areas. Thank you very much. So I hope we've been had the opportunity to take a nice break, get water, get juice, use the restroom, So we're gonna move into the next section. With all the business ideas and all the investing we're about to be doing, we're making so much money, right? So we need to understand the tax consequences of those money, of the millions, right, that we're going to be making. So we have Pastor K here. I gave him an intro earlier. Pastor K is a military man. He's a family man. I believe he's also been in accounting for almost 20 years. So let's give him a round of applause. He's going to talk us through individual tax.
Good afternoon, everyone. I don't like much introduction. I'm just Kayode Owosheni. JJ, can you please help me with this? I don't have my glasses here. Yeah, please reduce it. Okay. Oh, why not? Yeah. Okay. Help my life. Oh. Yeah, this one. Okay. So, like you said, I'm Kayode Owosheni, but they call me Lawrence Owosheni, and I've been doing this for a while now, to the glory of God. Before we start, I just want to put a disclaimer out there that whatever you hear from me this afternoon will not represent the opinion of my employer. This is strictly me because I don't want to mess up with the independence policy. Public accounting, and I'm not supposed to be doing this. So these are strictly my opinion, not my employers. So I'm a tax consultant, and I've been doing that for a while to the glory of God, and I love doing this. Now, we want to talk about giving back to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. How many of us understand that term? Okay. Caesar means the government, the Bible, and they have something they get from us each time we make money, so we have to give back to them. Now, not that only we have to give back to them, to the government, we have to do it right, without cutting corners, because either you like it or not, one day it's coming back to bite you. We've talked about investments. Kolade, yes, Kolade, can you please go into my car and get my glasses? Korede, please. This thing will cause trouble for me. Yeah, thank you. So, not that only we have to give it back to Caesar, but we have to do it right. We've talked about investments and all that without looking into the tax implications of those investments that we are making, and they can be huge. Mind you, if IRS comes back to audit you, I've seen so many people going down the drain because of issues with IRS, and you don't want to be a victim of such. So today we are going to talk about the basics, understanding individual income tax. But before we go into this, I will give you various types of taxes that we have for business owners and for individuals. Tax on its own has two major components. We have the direct, we have the indirect. Sorry, this thing is bothering me. We have the direct, we have the indirect tax. Direct tax is the income part of it, in the sense that we have the corporate income, like businesses, organizations, they make income, and they call it the corporate income, while individual income is the income that you have from a regular job. Are we on the same page? Now, the indirect aspect of it, indirect tax, is number one, sales and use. Sales and use in the sense that sales and use tax, in the sense that each time you go to the store to swipe your card, you see some few cents, thank you. You see some few cents coming off from it. They tell you it's 0.7%, 8%, or whatever percentage that they have there. That means you are paying tax to the government. It could be your local municipalities, it could be the state, it could be the federal, depending on the state where you are. Now, those companies in returns, they will hold that tax that you've paid to them till the end of the month, or depending on the state, it could be the 15th of the month, it could be the 28th of the month, they will remit it back to the state or to the local municipalities. Do we get it now? So those taxes to them, to those companies, is called trust tax, because the government is trusting them in order for them to collect the tax from you and remit it back to them. Failure on the part of those businesses to remit it back to the government will cause issues for them. That is their own cup of tea, like the way we say it in Nigeria. So if you are here, you are a business owner, you are making sales, think of making remittances every time. State of North Carolina, maybe due date is on the 15th of every month. Some will push it further to the 28th of every month. It is compulsory for you as a business owner to remit your sales and use tax every month. Even if you don't make any sales, if it is zero, report it as zero and send it to them. It's just one button away from the system. Click it, submit it to them, that's it. Use tax, on the other hand, means you are buying stuff from another state and you are using it in your own state. If you fail to pay enough tax from that state where you purchase it from and you are bringing it to your state, the balance between it is called the use tax, because you are going to use it in that same state of your residence. Does that make any sense? Okay. Not for individual this time around, I'm talking about businesses. So we have, under the indirect tax again, we have the property tax, which are the tax you pay on your properties, right? We have the franchise taxes. We have the excise, which is the international, making purchases from one country to another. We have hospitality taxes. If you have ever gone to the retail business outlets or whatever to buy stuff, especially groceries, you discover that if you buy a meal that has been prepared, like you go to Food Lion, they have chicken, right? You buy the one that has been prepared, they grilled, and you buy a fresh one. If you look at your receipt very well, I know most Africans, they don't check their receipt for anything. I was once like that too, but I learned in a very hard way. If you go back there, you discover that the tax they will charge on that prepared meal will be different from the raw chicken. But you won't know because you are not paying attention to it. But for business organization, by the time the IRS hit you with something, you'll pay attention to all these things. Are we on the same page? So, but today we just want to talk about the basics of individual income tax. Income we derive from our jobs. You have W-2s, you have 1099, you have rent coming, you have income coming from the rent, you have a property and you've rented it out to people and people are paying you back. You have dividend, you have interest, whatever source of income coming in for you. That is what we want to talk about today. And I'm going to make this very, very brief. I'm not going to bore you at all because we're going to talk about the basics. These are very, very sensitive area in the US, and this is one of the sources of income to the government. So they don't joke with it at all. So, give me the next slide. So I said income tax is a tax levied on income earned by individuals and is a significant source of revenue for the government. Either we like it or not, money coming in for us. And I've seen so many mistakes that we make as immigrants trying to cut corners. Sometimes we underreport our income, trying to make sure that we play the fast game. That shouldn't be. But I will show you various things that you can do reasonably that will help. We'll get there. So, if you earn money from, okay, let me start with the W2. Everybody knows the W2, right? That you work for an employer, and at the end of the month, they give you your W2, and before you get the job, you have W4 and W9. W4 is for the states. They'll tell you how many dependents do you have, are you married, are you singles, you click all those buttons. That is W4 for state, and W9 for the federal. Make sure you consult a CPA before you fill those forms. I've seen a whole bunch of mistakes, errors in those forms, and at the end of the year, you come back to your CPA and say, why is it that I'm owing the government $10,000? How? But because you did not consult anyone when you were filling those forms. And if they come back to you again, you are owing them. So that is from your W-2. How about 1099? How many of us know what 1099 is? No. That is it. So if you, okay, for an example, if you are in a corporate settings and they are telling you this job is not W-2, we are bringing you in as a contractor. That means the tax implication of any money we will give to you lies on you, not on them. So you are to them as a contractor. So at the end of the year, by the time they give you, they will not give you W-2 to show the statement of your income for the year. By the time you see it, you discover that no tax will be deducted from your pay. So the onus is on you to pay the government back the tax implication of what you have collected. Does that make any sense? Now, that form that will be given to you at the end of the year is called 1099. Are we on the same page? Now, how about people that are self-employed, they're not getting W-2 from anybody, they're not getting 1099 from anyone? What are we going to categorize that into? Does anyone know? Okay. The last guy that spoke talked about some categories of people that we have in the U.S. We have the Native American, the white American, and all that. And he talked about the Mexicans. They were almost the last on the pyramid. And they're making about $34,000 per annum, which is a big lie. Because those guys, they operate cash policy. Okay, so for category of people that belongs to that group, you are expected to self-report your income to the government. I don't know if we are on live, but there are some things that I can't say now on that. Eh? Yeah, that's fine. So, but there are some categories of people in that group that they have to self-report their income to the government. If you are operating cash, let me swallow that. Okay, so you get income from other sources as well, but the point I'm trying to make is to establish sources of income that we have to report taxes on. Are we on the same page? Are we on the same page? Okay. Let's move. Next slide. Okay. So, especially, I know most of us here are either in the corporate or you have something giving you W-2 mostly at the end of the month. I mean, at the end of the year. You get paycheck at the end of the month. And you are looking at the end of the year, you are looking into your 1044, 1040. 1040 is your tax return at the end of the year. That's the form, that is what the IRS call it, 1040. I mean, if I say 1040, probably will not understand. Just say, all I know is that I do my tax return at the end of the year. But that form is 1040. Now, I just want to take us through the breakdown of what we have, some technical part of it that might be shady to us that we don't understand, and we're going to talk about it now. Like I said, I'm not going to bore you with this presentation. I won't waste your time. I'll just run through it real quick, and then I will give room for questions. So, gross income, that is the oga pata pata of them all. You tell yourself, I earn 6 figures. My take home at the end of the year, my salary when we were negotiating at the point of my appointment is $150,000 before all deductions. That is your gross. Does that make any sense? That is your gross because they've not taken anything out of it. When you were negotiating with your employer, we are going to pay you $200,000. No, more than that. Pay me $300,000. Maybe possibly you reach the negotiation table, you say $250,000. But you discover that at the end of the month, you've been thinking that my salary this month is going to be about $21,000 or $22,000. And by the end of the month, you only get a lot of maybe $12,000 in your account. Someone few months ago, the person got a job, 6 figures job, and already calculated how much it's going to be per month. And by the time the person was slammed with the tax implications, he'd be like, this money is not complete. I say it's complete. so that you won't be like, the money is not complete. So that is your total, your gross before any deduction. They call it gross because it is not total yet. Do we get it now? Now, the next one is the adjusted gross income. So by the time they are filling your CPA person, and by the way, most of us make mistakes when we are doing our tax return at the end of the year. It's not everyone that files, not everyone that does tax return is a CPA person. Some people will just learn, maybe along the way, and they will start filing for people. Of course, possibly they do not have a PTIN. We call it a PTIN, which is the number you are supposed to get from IRS to file. They will be using someone else's PTN. If you file your taxes with those set of people, at the end of the day, if any issue comes, IRS is not going to hold them responsible. Guess who they're going to hold responsible? You. It becomes your problem. So you want to be very, very careful on that. So, adjusted gross income, AGI. That is your gross income minus allowable deductions. What are those allowable deductions? You have gone to school on student loan, and you are paying interest every month. The guy that just left talked about paying off your student loan if you can, because the interest we are paying, I don't have. Some people are paying on those loan, they are just way too much. You just want to make sure you write off the principal as much as you can. But the interest you've paid all over the year becomes one of the allowable deductions that will be taken off from your gross by the time they are filing your tax return. IRA contributions. I heard someone was talking about what is the meaning of 401k. That is your retirement. Your retirement, that is IRA. And you make some contributions. I will talk about that. I think I can talk about it now. You make some contributions into that every month from your paycheck. And possibly your employers will match it for you. Some will match to 8%, some 7%, some will say I will match it 10%, some will say I'll match dollar to dollar, depending on the company you are working with. But you want to make sure you take advantage of these IRA contributions, and I will tell you why. I'll tell you why. If you have a very good job, and you have a good company that has a very good policy, and they are matching your 401k. Your 401k deduction from your salary, whatever percentage you elect for that deduction. If they match it, that means you are getting free money. You are getting free money. I jokingly tell myself, if I have to pay 10% of my tithes every month, what stops me from paying 10% to myself to secure something reasonable for me for the future? When I know if I drop $10, my company will drop another $9 to it, that's $19. And I will tell you what the advantage of this will be for you later on. But I will stop on that. So, take advantage of that. Increase your contribution. If you've been contributing 2% before, move it up because your company will match it, especially if it's a company that has a very good policy. Now, taxable income. So by the time they've taken your gross income, they've taken out your allowable deductions, all those investments you've made in shares and bonds, and you lost some money, those are part of the allowable deductions. They will take it out of it. The balance is your taxable income. They said minus exemptions and deductions. Now, I will talk about that one. We have some standard deductions and we have some exemptions. They are kind of interwoven. Your standard deductions are the government set up, depending on your situation, they have married, filing jointly. They have married, filing single. They have single, they have widowed, and all those categories. And they have certain amounts of thresholds. I mean thresholds like, how do I describe threshold? Range. Let's say, okay, if you're married and you're filing jointly, they will allow your CPA to take 12,500. I have the figure there. I'm just throwing that out. They will take 12,500 out of your AGI. Then the balance is what the government will tax as your effective tax rate. Does that make any sense? This is your AGI. You understand it to this line. Now, they're about to tax you. And they say your range, because you're making X amount of money, is 35%. It is not 35% yet because they've not taken out your standard deductions out of it. So after they take out the standard deductions, it depends on where you are on that line will determine the rate that will be applicable to you. Let's move to the next slide. Now, this is the rate. This is for federal income. State has its own, and it's it depends on states, mainly the state that collects state taxes, state income taxes. Some states will not collect state income tax from you. One of them is Texas. Those guys are enjoying. Here, so if your range is $22,000 to $89,000, and you are filing jointly, after they've taken out your deduction, your standard deductions, that means your rate will be 12% on your taxable income. So at the end of the day, if you are earning 100,000 and all your deductions, everything taken out, you are left with $89,000, and you are married, you'll be taxed at 12%. So that means you are paying 12% of what you have earned for the year. Now, if you have paid more than what that 12% will give at the end of the year, that is when you have tax refund. Does that make any sense? But if you are still owing them, by the time they multiply 12% by your 89,000, that means you have to give money back to them. That is when you owe money, and applicable to the rest of them. I hope we understand the term married filing jointly, or qualified widow or widower, single, head of household, married filing separately. I hope we understand those lines, especially the head of household. I see so many people making that mistakes. They just put as head of household, just put it there. without knowing the implication. That means you are paying more than 50% of the expenses in the house. If you're not paying more than 50% of the expenses in the house, please do not check the boss for head of household. Yes. Mhm.
So if you live by yourself, right, which automatically means you're paying all the bills in the house, can you put head of household then?
No, you don't have dependents. Yeah. You don't have dependents. So that's why you can't. So you have to do single. Huh? I didn't hear that.
So you need to be paying 50% of household utilities and have a
Expenses.
dependent,
Yeah. Yeah.
expenses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to stay on this slide a little bit more. Now, at the end of the year, if you discover a couple, okay, go ahead. It looks you will be taxed like someone who is married and filing jointly. Not really much difference. But you have the bracket here. The bracket here. You see, single is 22,000, and head of household start from 15,700. You see that? Yeah.
One more question. So the way I understand how the tax rates work, right, is say if you're someone who makes 100,000, right? So up until your first, if you're single making 100,000, up until your first 11,000, you'll get taxed at 10%.
Yes.
And then whatever
No,
is over.
up until 44,725. But if you hit 44,726, then you jump
To the next tax
to the
bracket.
22%.
Okay, and then it's whatever income that's over
Over.
that gets taxed at the highest
Over
tax rate.
this threshold.
Got it.
Yeah, you move
So
to the
it's
next
graduated.
one. Yeah. Any other question on that? Okay. I've seen so many issues coming from, especially the married people here. They are filing jointly, but at the end of the year, they are owing IRS. Why? I'll tell you why. Maybe they have 2 or 3 dependents in their house. On the W-4, that's why I say you must consult your CPA before you do these things. On your W-4, you claimed 2 or 3 dependents as husband. Your wife, on the other hand, claiming another 3 dependents. That means IRS will not take as much money as they're supposed to take from you, from both of you. And at the end of the year, by the time they are calculating all those things, you are owing them money. That is why you're owing them money. I always tell people, if you are a couple and you are filing jointly, let either of you turn off your W-4 and W-9 and make it single. Allow IRS to take as much as they want, so that at the end of the year, you are not owing them. They give money back to you. Does that make any sense? Okay. Any question on this again before we move? Yes.
Sorry, so what would you say about the school of thought that thinks it's better to not overpay so that you're investing the balance that you have and actually make extra money off that balance as opposed to giving IRS the money for free to hold for you?
You don't want to get into trouble with IRS. So we have individual differences, but I would not, that's why I said I can't say some things because this is going to go live. I will not advise anyone to do that. Let them take as much as they want to take, because at the end of the year, you are not owing them anything. Because if you are owing them anything and you are not paying it, they would definitely come after you. The first thing they would do is to garnish your wages. They don't need your permission to do that because they know everything about you. They know your social security number. Automatically, they will get in touch with your employer and they will take it out of it. If you are self-employed, they will get it from your bank. Sometimes you can go to jail. And you don't want to do that. So, I will not advise anyone to cut corners. Let's just do it right. So, yeah. Yeah. hmm Paying the right amount. That is why you have to sit down with your CPA, have very solid discussion with your CPA. Yes.
So I wanted to ask if you can educate us on some of the credits that we can qualify for. So not necessarily cutting corners, because some people might not know they qualify for some certain credits, right? Or they're not aware of whatever benefits they get from the state for maybe having children or whatever. So if you can educate us on some of the credits you can qualify for, that can then help you reduce the taxable income.
I think it's about 2 slides down this presentation. We'll get there. Yeah. Okay. Let's move. Next slide, please. Okay. So now this is the standard deductions that will be taken from your taxable income or from your AGI before they put the percentage on it. Now, if you are single, this data I don't only have this data. If you are single, to reduce your tax burden, they will take out in 2021. They will take out $12,550 from your AGI just to lessen the tax burden on you. And by the time you multiply that with your, depending on the category you fall into on your income, we are looking at the range of 22,000 to 44,750, right? So they will take it out of it. That means possibly you have the balance of $50,000, and your effective tax rate, your ETR, will be 10% of it. So if you have given more than 10% to the IRS, then you are getting something back in return. Understood? The same thing applicable to married filing jointly, married filing separately, and head of household. Now, 2 major things there. We have the standard deductions, and we have some itemized deductions. It's either you go with the standard deduction or you go with the itemized deductions. What are standard deductions? We have talked about that, which is the regular thing that the government will give you. Or we are taking off $12,550 from your tax burden if you are single, and the rest will become taxable. But how about itemized deductions? That is why, again, you have to sit down with your CPA and analyze all those things. Your CPA will look into it. Which one is bigger between my standard deductions and your itemized deductions? Then you go with the one that will be favorable to you. Okay? If you have driven Uber or Lyft, or you've done food delivery for the whole year, not the whole year, even if it is 2 months, all the expenses you incurred, including your car maintenance, put them in a spreadsheet. The gas, put them in a spreadsheet. Any other expenses that you've incurred. Okay. If you can, get LLC. Register a company in your name. Lease your house to that company. Lease your car to that company. Is this making any sense? Okay. So, lease your house to that company, lease your car to that company. If you buy food, it is called entertainment for guests. I should stop here. Are you guys getting what I'm saying? Now, yes, sir.
Do you have to keep the receipts? Because I know, including when you travel, right?
So, you don't and you do. You don't because IRS doesn't really audit people that much. You do because one day, if they decide to come knocking at your door, you have backups.
How long do you keep the receipt for?
10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, sorry, one more. Because you're talking about all the benefits, right? Ways we can cut.
It's
Because that's
not-
what they do.
it's not me.
It's valid though. It's legal, right?
Yeah.
So some people hire their kids.
Mhm.
So instead of giving them,
You have to be careful with that.
Okay.
There's a caveat on that. You can't hire underage.
right.
Okay.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's just for the parents. Instead of giving them money for free, you
Yeah.
can actually benefit from
Let
it.
them do some stuff. Yeah. So I'm just giving you those hints. Now, at the end of the year, maybe your expenses on this side, on the itemized deductions, are about 50,000, and the IRS saying they are giving you $12,550 as single. Which one will you go with? Huh? 50,000, because that $50,000 will be taken out of the entire money you have made over the years, and the rest will be the tax. They will now tax the rest. For an example, maybe your taxable income at the end of the year or your AGI is 100,000 when they have taken all those nonsense out of it. It's 100,000. Now it comes to the standard deduction versus itemized deduction. They are saying as you are single, they are going to take out $12,550 out of that 100,000, and the remaining maybe 82 or 80 something thousand dollars will be taxable at 23%. But now you have 50,000 itemized deduction that you can take out of that 100,000 and remains how much? 50,000, and that will be taxable at 12%. Which one will you take? Okay. That's best. So make sure you get a qualified CPA when you are doing your tax return, so that all these things you both will understand. Okay? Next slide, please.
I didn't understand what you mentioned about the itemized deduction. You're saying if you have a house, lease it. If you have a car, lease it. I don't understand what you mean.
That is when you have LLC, you have a company. I mentioned specifically LLC because it's the best out of those company registration, especially for individuals. So if you don't have a company registered on your name, that doesn't work. But if you have driven Uber, I'm coming. You have driven Uber, you have done little businesses that you can produce evidence, then you can still itemize some stuff, but it might not be up to what the IRS wants to give you. Does that make any sense? Okay.
Okay, so you mentioned LLC. Me, I have a sister. She lives in Texas. I'm in Charlotte. We have a small business. So she's mentioned getting LLC multiple times. And since Texas doesn't have state, does that impact whether we should do it in Texas or do it in North Carolina? The fact that they don't have state tax?
So you're going a bit technical. Are you guys in partnership?
Yeah.
Okay, so that means you get K1.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what K1 is?
No.
Okay, so you get, at the end of the year, you get a document called K1. That will show your own portion of income from that business. Make sure you ask for that every year. Make sure you include that document in the paperwork you'll give to your CPA to file your tax return. Now, if the business is located in Texas, but you are operating here in the state of North Carolina.
It's online.
It's online.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nexus there. Nexus means presence. You're operating online, but your customers are in different states.
Mm-hmm.
But your state of residence will collect tax from you because you have presence in that state. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So she might not be liable to paying income tax in the state of Texas, but you are here, you are liable to do that. And if they've not been collecting sales tax there, all your sales tax remittance should go to the government of the state where you have presence, nexus.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
just to make sure that I understand, so you have the gross income, then you have the adjusted gross income. Once the expenses have been, the
Deducted.
allowable deductions have been removed,
Mhm.
and then you then have the standard deduction and itemized.
You have the taxable
The taxable income, which
Yeah.
is, no.
Taxable
So,
income minus exemptions and deductions.
so after the adjusted gross income,
Mhm.
yeah, you then remove the deductions, either the standard deduction or itemized deduction,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And then based on the itemized deductions,
Yes.
if you have an LLC, you can actually increase that.
Yes.
Then you then have the amount, and then based on what Emily said, you have the percentage graduated
Yes.
based on that amount.
Mhm.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Is it possible to file the standard and the itemized deduction together? Let's take, for instance, I'm working, you also have like a side also. Do you also like merge the two, or you do this separately?
You can't have both at the same time. It's either you go for the itemized deductions or you go for the standard deduction.
So, but are you still gonna be eligible for the 12,000 that the government is deducting?
No. When you are not a thief now. You have to take one. You have to take one that is higher, that will reduce your tax liability at the end of the year. Does that make any sense? So you can't have the two, you have to take one.
Question is very direct. Can a student have a business because of it's the F1 category in terms of like the visa status?
Okay. I have to be very careful with that question. So, international students are not supposed to work during the course of your program. I was once an international student, so I know much about it. You are allowed to work within the school, sometimes 20 hours, depending on the policy of that school. However, if you are going to run business within the state, technically it's not allowed because you are not expected to work. Now, if you bring money from Ghana, like my friend, bring money from Ghana to do your own business, you can do that. But you are not allowed to work for someone else when you are still on F1 status unless you graduate and you have your OPT, or you have someone filed H1B for you, or you have someone filed 485 for you. Or you can run a business. So that's why I said I have to be very, very careful answering that question because I know where you are going.
Just in line with what he was talking about, I know as students you're not supposed to work outside the confine of the university. And for example, if I'm a student and maybe I do photography in Charlotte, for example, right now, that falls under 1099, right? Am I allowed?
So photography for someone, you're working with a company. That's not 1099.
Yeah, but I'm a contractor there.
You are a contractor. That's 1099. You are not allowed.
Oh, okay, great.
That's 1099. You are a contractor. You are not allowed. That could raise a red flag.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But let me put the mic down. Sorry for the digression, I'm sorry. I hope we are learning something here. Okay, where did we stop? Okay, so this is the credit that Korede was asking. Deductions and credits. So I think I've dealt with much of this, but we're going to just look at what we have there. We say deductions reduce your taxable income, reducing the overall tax liability. Are we good on that? And common deductions include your mortgage interest. Okay. Common deductions include your mortgage interest, medical expenses, and charitable contributions. The tithes you pay to the church, at the end of the year, They give you your tax report at the end of the year, the paperwork they hand over to us at the end of the year. How many of us, we always get that one? Okay, if you have not been getting that, please make sure you get in touch with the tax team. I believe everyone who pays their tithe and offering will always get this paperwork. You can give it to your tax guy. The interest you pay on your mortgage, right now, interest rate is high. Interest rate is high. So at the end of the year, you get the paperwork, hand it over to your tax guy because you get some money back from that. Medical expenses, however, there's a threshold on all these things. By the time you get to a level, it cuts off. So I can't be explaining that now because so tax credit directly reduce the amount of tax owed, offering a dollar for dollar reduction. All those things will reduce your tax burden, reduce your tax liability, one after the other, especially when you do it right. And that is why you see a couple of people, when they go to their tax guy, they said, they will get a boy from another person, get the social security number, they give it to the tax guy. I want to use this boy to file. That's a big trouble, a big one. This will reduce your tax liability and will increase the amount that will be refunded back to you by the IRS. Please do not cut corners. You have the child tax credit, you have earned income tax credit, and many more. Do you have any question on tax credit? Okay, let's move. Yeah, that goes there too. At the end of the year, you get 1098 from your school. International students, have you been filing your tax too? Yeah. You get 1098 from the school. Please make sure you file, even if it is 0. My first 2 years when I was in school, I didn't know I was getting 0 because I didn't know how to do it. I was getting 0. But it is mandatory for anyone here to file their taxes. 1098, that's education credit. You get it as well. You get money for your textbook. You get money for a couple of things that you do in school. Yes, you have a question.
Thank you, sir. I'm just curious about that. I remember when I was filing my tax for the last time, there's a portion that asked me that are there some monies I got directly that it's without tax. You know, when you're getting your pay from school, they've taxed it. So I assume that one is talking about if I got any money and it's not taxed. So I remember, I think when I resumed, there's this thing that is it Chase Bank usually do, like maybe you can register a bank and they will give you like a bonus. So that bonus was probably like $200. I think it was taxed, but there are some other banks that they don't tax the bonus they give you. So that kind of bonus, are you supposed to pay tax on it yourself? And I mean, are you supposed to indicate why you're filing your tax?
So at the end of the year, some banks will send you 1099.
Okay.
You didn't do any business with them. It's going to be maybe 1099D or 1099C. It has grades too, so that it won't put you as a contractor. You are getting a bonus from your bank, does not mean you work for them.
Yeah,
so it has a different class, but you still have to pay tax on that. So by the time you get that, combine it with the paperwork you're going to give to your tax guy. Once he sees the code on it, you see that paperwork 1099, very, very tiny number at the top of it, BCABD. You see it there. Just hand it over to him. He knows where to put those figures. Okay. But you are supposed to remit your tax on that as well.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So say, for example, I have a, let's call it a side business that I do. Now, this is kind of going back to the LLC question. So say, for example, I have a side business I do, and is it possible for me to then get an LLC, the incomes, the expenses for that business, put it under the LLC, to then benefit from, so basically I'll be working for the LLC, even though I'm the one doing the activities, right? To then benefit from a reduced tax rate under the LLC.
So you're talking about two different things entirely. Your company is a separate entity. You as a person, you're a separate entity. Any income that comes to you directly is taxable. Any income the company derives is taxable. So your income is quite different from the company's income because you are a separate entity and your company is a separate entity.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So, but it was like the income I'm earning from the side business is what I'm trying to put
It's
under the
taxable.
LLC.
No, because the income comes to you. It's taxable to you.
Can't pass through it to the LLC.
Mm.
To ask a clarifying question to what Corday was saying, so if you're doing a business, right, like you registered an LLC and everything, when you earn money through the LLC, you pay taxes on it as a business.
Yes.
But if you were to take income from that money that your business is gaining, you would pay a tax again.
On your income. So it's going to look like a double taxation, but in the real sense, it is not. Because don't forget that you are going to expense all your expenses from that business on your personal income, taxable income as well.
So basically, for the businesses, like taxes, you would expense the income you're taking through the business.
Yeah.
But then the income that you take for yourself from the business, you would pay taxes
Yeah.
on. Got it.
Just look at it. You are not paying rent for the next 2 years. Think about your rent now. Save it for the next 2 years. Is that not huge? But your business is paying that for you. Are we good? Let's move. I promise not to keep you, not to waste your time. Yeah, next. So now this is the part that I said I will wait till we get to this part before I say it. Please, if you have not taken anything away from this presentation, please pay attention to this. This will help you. Utilize the tax advantage retirement accounts. You remember I was saying every company will match possibly dollar to dollar, whatever you put in your whatever your contribution is into your 401k account. Now, I rather put money in my 401k account than saving the money. And I will tell you why. The money that goes into the money you are contributing into your 401 account directly is tax-free. They take it out on gross. IRS will not tax that one as it goes into your 401k account. For an example, you are putting $1,000 into your 401k account, and your company is matching maybe 9% of it. That's fine. You have extra money coming in, right? But they are not taking tax out of it. Now, you now need money urgently. You can take money out of this 401k account without any tax implication. And I will show you why. Do not withdraw from this account. If you withdraw from this account, your money will be taxed like a bonus. I remember one time I got bonus of $20,000 from my job, and by the time they pay me money, they pay me $12,000, and I've spent that $20,000 in my mind. I said, $12,000, what did I do? Where's my money? Out of that $20,000, about 4,000 plus went into my 401k directly. If you want to take money out of this account, get a loan against the account. By the time you take a loan against this account, you are paying interest. They will not tax you on the loan you are taking on the account because it is a loan. Now, you are paying interest on the loan you are taking. But the good part is that you are paying yourself the interest. You've borrowed money from yourself and you are paying interest back to yourself. That is the good part. So if I need any emergency fund, $40,000, $50,000, I use Fidelity. I'm not advertising. I use Fidelity. I just go to them. Give me my money. I need $40,000. Oh, how long do you want to pay this for? 60 months. Okay. Now paying the interest back. The interest is still my money. I'm paying myself the interest back. And maybe in 2 months, I use it for a business. The business is booming. I return my $40,000 back into it. Simple. Are we getting it now? Yes? Okay. Okay, so consider timing strategies for deductions or income to optimize the tax liabilities. You have to be sensitive with your timing. Stay informed about changes in tax laws that might impact your tax situation. You might think, I'm just a W-2 guy, so it doesn't really matter. I don't want to know anything about the law. But at times, especially when you are earning big, if you cross the border of 200 and above, please, this is important. You will need it. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll just ask my question now. So for the fidelity, right, and it could be any other.
It could be Charles.
Yeah, it could be anyone. So when you take the loan out, does it have to go towards a specific thing? So for example, when you buy a new house, right, you can take up to 10,000, right? They don't question that as long as it's going into like property.
They
right?
don't ask you what do I want to do.
Oh, they asked me the first property.
I've done it a couple
But
of times.
that wasn't a loan. That was just taken out.
Withdraw.
Yes.
Don't do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't
But for the loan,
Yeah.
they don't ask you what you're putting it into. Okay.
Mm-mm. Don't take a withdrawal. Yes.
Sorry, so that was my question. What's the difference between
A
like
loan?
asking, and then telling them you want a loan? So is it Fidelity giving you the money as a loan, or is it still out of your 401k?
It's still so. Depending on how much you have in the account. For example, if you have 20,000 in the account, they might tell you your withdrawal threshold is $4,000. That means you can take more than $4,000 out either on withdrawal or on loan. But if you have about $200,000, then you move up. Now, if you withdraw, if you call them, I need some money, they will ask you, are you trying to get a loan or you are trying to withdraw? And the part that we do not normally get is that when you say loan, you think they want to give you a loan, but it's a loan against your fund with them. Does that make any sense? Yes, Sheyi. Before they give you the loan, especially if you are still working, before they give you the loan, they will ask for your company details. So you must be able to pay it back. Because it's going to be automatically deducted from your paycheck. It is your money. No, they won't come after you. But your interest will keep compounding. You still have to pay. Yeah, at some point you still have to pay. But think about it. It's still your money. So if you don't even pay yourself, that is your own cup of. Well, yes. The interest on that is taxable. But look at it. For example, if you take a loan of $4,000, you are paying $4,300 back in 60 months. So how much is the interest of $300? So, but if you take like 100,000, I'm coming. If you take like 100,000 out, you invest it, bam, 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 the money comes back before the interest starts compounding. You put the money back into that. And even if the interest comes, it's still your money. You are still paying yourself back the interest. No, it's to you. It goes back to you, to your IRA account. I don't understand. So you are borrowing money from yourself, but there's the party managing that for you. That is what it is. They will not give you more than what you have in that 401k account. So if you don't have money there, they will not borrow you. It is going to be like a conventional loan or any other loan out there.
Can't even give up.
So if you have like 100,000, we can't give you more than 50%. I mean, more than $50,000. If you're asking for more, they'll say, no, sorry. That is the policy. Because it's a loan. Yes. I think we're spending more time. Yes.
One clarification real quick, though. So I think back to Daniel's question. I think depending on your employer's plan, with for example Fidelity, right?
Mhm.
My company uses Fidelity as well, but depending on your plan, there's some flexibility around loan versus withdrawal, right? But basically, to his point, you don't want to withdraw, right? Because of the tax implication, because of the penalties and all that stuff that comes with it, right? But if you are purchasing like your first home or you have hardship or something, there's some way around it, right?
Yeah, they will still get tax from you, but it might not be like a regular tax that they get from people. But make sure as much as you can to get a loan. Yes.
So the question I have is basically like, so let's say you said that it's like a retirement fund,
Mhm.
pretty much. So once you retire, you said it's tax free during the whole process. Do
Mhm.
they tax you once you've retired to withdraw the money
So
from
I-
the 401k?
I don't want to dwell much on that because that would take us away from what we are discussing. But it's your retirement money that comes to you every year. At that point, I don't know. I don't want to say yes or no if it is taxable as income to you or not. I don't want to give a specific answer to that. That is left with the CPA or the guys that does retirement benefit. Yeah. Okay. Now, let's move on. I think we have a few slides to wrap this up. Okay, so tax compliance and penalties. Make sure you file timely and accurately to avoid penalties and interest. I've seen a couple of Africans, especially Nigerians, someone told me I've not filed my tax for like 3-4 years. I said, why? He said, I just don't want to file it. I said, okay. Fortunately for her, I told her, please don't come to me to file your tax for you. I don't want to append my signature and put my license on the way for that. I mean, number one, you've committed a crime anyways. But you know what is right and you don't do it, and I will not help you to correct it. Go and look for someone else. Next time you won't do it. Because you have to pay penalties, you have to pay fines, you have to pay interest on what you are supposed to give back to IRS and you've not given it back to them. That's on you. So compliance means you are following the rules. April 15th is when you are supposed to file, and at times they give you extension. If you still fail to make use of that extension, then that is your problem. Failing to report income, under-reporting, don't let me talk on under-reporting, or deliberate tax evasion can lead to severe consequences, including jail time. Have you heard about celebrities who had gone to jail because of tax evasion? Yes.
Well, I was referring to how some people can go exempt on their taxes for a period of time.
Mhm.
Is that considered late reporting, or how does that fit into it?
So, tax exempt, let's talk about that. The categories of people that are supposed to go on tax exempt are people in the religious and the military guys, people like us. But I know some pharmacists, they will go tax exempt for 6 months so that they can have money. And after 6 months, they turn it back on. They say, oh, we are losing money. They will turn it off again. And at the end of the year, they are owing IRS about $30,000 to $40,000. Now, IRS will send a letter to them. They will hire CPA. I'm not supposed to say this, but I'll say it. They will hire a CPA. They will sit down with IRS. They will audit their accounts. Okay, you have tax liability of $50,000. Let's negotiate. Your CPA, if he has a lawyer, beat it down to like $30,000. You are saving about how much? $20,000 on it, right? But note, you have to pay me as a CPA. You have to pay the lawyer. And at the end of the day, you've been flagged red as a tax evader because of what? $20,000. It doesn't worth the stress. It is technically, yeah. If you don't belong to those categories, it is considered tax evasion. Yeah. So consult a tax professional or use tax software to ensure compliance and maximize potential deductions. I would tell you to please get in touch with a professional. Yes, you can file your tax yourself. Oh, okay, yes, ma'am. It depends, though. It depends. It depends on what you're looking at. If you have company, you have a company and you have W-2 on the side, they might charge you differently. Some people might charge, if it is filing for your 1040, regular tax, individual tax return, some people might charge $200. Some people might charge you $50. If you see somebody by the roadside, they might charge you $10. but if you want to deal with corporate income tax, like corporate tax, that's huge, and then that's when you bring someone like me in. It's going to be under a contract, and I'll do your tax for you every month and every year. Yes, ma'am. So are you talking about the benefits for tax or military? So let me say it this way. It is not that you are totally exempted from paying tax, because my paycheck now, they take taxes out of it, but they take little. I still pay tax, but little. I'm not an active duty guy. I'm just a reserve guy, and I get money every month. So I pay. They take little out of it, yeah, but not that you are totally exempted. It doesn't matter from day one, yeah. Okay. So please consult a tax professional or use tax software. So I want to say, please be very careful with the tax software, because we have a whole bunch of them out there that could be misleading. Just get a very reasonable one. But most importantly, please talk to a CPA. Couple of maybe TurboTax and all that, they will tell you, do you want to talk to a CPA to get professional help and all that? So please make sure you talk to a CPA before you do your tax. I think the last slide would be the question and answer. Yes, sir. Keep in mind that certain deductions like student loan interest and IRA contributions can be taken above the line, meaning they are subtracted from your total income before calculating your adjusted gross income. We have talked about this, and that's the last slide for the day. Thanks so much for having me. If you have any question, again, let me know. Yeah. Okay, you have Daniel.
Okay. So we talked about taking advantage of LLCs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, in a case where you have a vehicle, for example, right, but then start using Turo, right, before I registered my LLC, how do you then take that vehicle and bring it into your LLC, considering the LLC came after you had purchased the property or the vehicle under your name? And
So I'm trying to get it right. You have a car, you're using for Turo. Number one, you possibly get 1099, depending on how much you make on that, because
Right.
they have threshold as well. Depending on how much you make that, you get 1099 from Turo. Now you want to rent that car to the LLC. Too easy. Get a contract, write it to your you are still the business owner of that Turo. You are the owner of the Turo. Then you are leasing that car to the LLC. But there must be a contract to show for it.
So I have to formulate an actual contract?
Yeah, you have to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, one more question before we call it a day.
All right. So, say you have a business abroad, right?
Abroad?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's being funded from here with your post tax money, right? And the business brought, say, for example, Nigeria, and the business is bringing you income, right? Are you supposed, so there's some category in that tax form that you're supposed to put in extra income and all that stuff in there. In case like that, are you supposed to report it? Mind you, you're already paying tax in Nigeria as well.
So that will, to avoid double taxation. If you look at the banking statement we get in Nigeria or some transactions we have in Nigeria, even the paperwork, the profile, they will ask for your TIN number or they have asked for your social security number. That is in order for them to track your income and remit tax to FIRS in Nigeria, because I was part of it. Now, you would not be charged again bringing that income to the US, because if you are charged again, it becomes double taxation for you. So once you pay tax in Nigeria, you are not supposed to pay tax there. However, if you fail to pay enough tax in Nigeria, then the balance has to be paid there. Does that make any sense? Now, it's like the case of excise tax. Excise tax is that you purchase an item as a company or any, especially a company, you purchase an item in London, you paid that tax there, and you are bringing it down to the US. If you fail to pay enough tax on it, by the time they assess it in the US, they will take the deduction out, and the balance on it is called excise tax that you have to pay to the US government. Or you fail to pay taxes at all, because some companies will hide under the umbrella of, manufacturing companies. Some manufacturing companies, they are exempt from paying taxes. A couple of other, if you are into research and development, you have credits, you don't really have to pay taxes. So if you fail to pay the full amount, or you fail to pay at all, by the time you get here, you have to pay excise tax on them. So the same thing is applicable to that.
I just want to say thank you so much for going into this. As someone who has been in this country for not a long time, I was very confused by this tax system, and I think a lot of the questions that you've answered today really has helped a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah. One last question, and that I'm a little bit still confused about, is when you go to Goodwill, they give you a slip of paper. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that's the charitable contributions.
So, but it's a blank sheet of paper.
Yes, so they will expect you to prove the value of the item you've donated to them, the monetary value of it.
And then you keep that paper for 10 years?
You keep that paper. No, you keep that paper in order for you to file your tax return at the end of the year.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, now you present all the evidences that you have. Yeah, but they have a time span. Yeah, they have a time span. Yeah. So they will not ask you again if it elapses. It has been thrown away, none. There's nothing you can do about it. They will just shout, and they will reach negotiation with you, and that's it.
Okay, so thank you so much for the beautiful contribution today. So I wanted to ask, I know in Nigeria for non-profit, even though you don't pay tax as an organization, you do pay like the staff income taxes to the government, and then some other taxes. So in the United States, I know some of these rules differ from country to country. Like in the United States, apart from like staff salaries, taxes that you pay directly to the government, what other like things do you pay taxes on as a non-profit or a research and development institution, which you do not have to pay like annual taxes?
I don't get the question.
Okay, so the question is, for non-profits, apart from the staff that you employ, that you are paying taxes on, is there any other taxes that non-profits do pay over here?
So non-profit, you have to be careful depending on your article of association. So I cannot give you a generic answer to that. Depends on your SOW, your statement of work, and your article of association. Whatever it says will determine if you have to go extra length of making another remittance, tax remittance on that. So I can't give you a generic answer until I see your article of association. Yeah. All right, thank you everyone. God bless you.
Please let's give him a big round of applause. So I think that's been very impactful. I think we've asked a really good amount of questions. thank you very much, sir, for your time and for all the knowledge you've impacted. One second. That's the end of our plan. We want to give appreciation to obviously our church for giving us this space to be able to meet here. Please give up our pastors, our leaders, our elders. I also want to appreciate you guys for spending time with us today. You guys could have been anywhere. Some of you don't even come to this church. We do ask that if you're not a member of this church, come tomorrow. Come see what it's about. And we hope, that this knowledge, this community invites you into our church as well. So I want to thank you for your time, for your energy, for being patient, for listening, for your questions. And also want to know that our hospitality team has something for you at the back. So once you're going out, you just grab something for, the road. It's going to be at the back. So, and last but not least, yes. So tomorrow we're going to have next week's Saturday and next week's Sunday. We're going to have the Winlows over. So please join us for the commitment, love, and relationship. And they're going to be here that Sunday as well. Invite your friends. Post it on Instagram. If you know someone who's interested, they're in Charlotte, do you want to join, please join. And I think that's all the announcements we have. So please, yes, there's refreshments at the back, and we hope you have a really nice day. Yes, so we have, let's please welcome our president.
All right, thank you so much. A lot of new faces. Nice to meet you guys. I don't think I met you yet, but I'll introduce myself. Met you. But thank you for coming. Thanks to our leadership again for having us. Pastor K, thank you for a wonderful session. I hope you guys learned something. You did? Okay. So we'll try to have more of this. We're trying to develop as a group. So if you'd like to be a part of the young adults, we're still growing. Please reach out to myself, Brad Kenny, who really helped put this together with Sister Mary. So please, thank you, McKenna, Sister Mary. And then if you have any ideas or questions, please, we're all for it, right? We're trying to be better. We're trying to improve our lives together. So reach out and enjoy the food. God bless you.
All right. And so with that, just going to do a quick closing prayer.
Let's bow our heads as we pray. Father, we thank you, we appreciate you for this section. We give you all the glory. Father, accept our thanks in Jesus' name. And Father, Lord, we put into your hands every facilitator that you have brought together to come and bless us today, that you replenish them in the name of Jesus. And Father, we pray that all the knowledge we've gained from this seminar, we pray that you give us the wisdom to put it to use in the name of Jesus. And as we go back to our homes, I pray that you go with us in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.